everybody, and welcome to Learn by Play, a Tomb of Annihilation stream here, once again, episode 4 on the Wizards of the Coast Dungeons & Dragons channel. Welcome everybody, welcome all back to another session. I'll be your host tonight. My name is Will, I'm a D&D sex icon, and I'm back with the fantastic cast and crew of Learn by Play to this week take on some more issues in Dungeons & Dragons, and of course take on the Tomb of Annihilation itself. So let's go around the cast and crew, figure out who we are, who we're playing real quick, and I'll talk to you guys a little bit more about tonight's topic. So let's start with Tour School. How you doing, Tour School?
Hey, I'm doing great. I am excited for another session. We've got like a giant undead dinosaur at the gates, and we've got to figure out how we're going to resolve that. I am going to be playing tonight, again, Fulton Stump, who is a Furlbog cleric of the Grave Domain. So hopefully he's going to be able to help out with some of this undead menace that we are facing. And yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, awesome. We have Sydney back with us today. How's it going, Sydney?
It's going really good. I'm super excited. I feel like it's been like longer than a week for some reason. I don't know, maybe it's just like disoriented, but I'm super excited.
Yeah. Talk to us about Reverie.
Okay, so I'm playing Reverie Fane, and she is a high elf rogue who's like an assassin. She's in the Assassin's Guild. She's been sent here to sort of do like boring, busy work and be a bodyguard to Bartleby Baxter Burt, whose name I still can't even really remember.
Leave it can hear, it's fine.
Yeah, we all mess it up. It's okay.
Incredible. Speaking of Mr. Bartleby Baxter, we have Mr. Encounter Josh back with us tonight. How you doing, Josh?
Hey guys, what's up? Yeah, I'm back. I'm playing Bud Baxter B. Birtle. You all completely fluffed that. Yeah, he's the gnome wizard. He's the greased up gnome wizard from last time. It's my new favourite term. Got to get my grease on. Got to get my gnome on. So looking forward to resolving all situations with the most uncomfortable use of spells I can possibly fathom, and also just sass talking dead things, because all the sass. When you're 2 foot tall, you've got to have some sass.
They can't sass you back once they're dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless they're the Allosaurus.
They come back to life.
In case they come back to
instantly.
Yep. And last but not least, we have Louise back with us tonight. How you doing, Louise?
I am doing wonderful, and I'm ready to put up with more of the greased up gnome wizard, which is going to be absolutely great. I'm playing Desira, who is a high elf fighter, Eldritch Knight, and has been tasked with the all too fun job of guiding this lovely party through her homeland, which she hasn't been in for quite a long time. And quite a lot of not so great things are happening, and I'm very excited for them all to happen more to us and for things to go wrong.
Wrong? When? I don't know what you're talking about. Well, yeah, let me guys remind you what happened last time on Learn by Play, in case you haven't caught up on the YouTube videos yet. You weren't here last week. Well, Learn by Play last week saw the group arrive at Camp Vengeance, which had been recently under a series of attacks via the undead, the zombies in the area, and the necromancers who are working with them. And Commander Breakbone was assisted by the party because his troops here, the Order of the Gauntlet, were having a whole lot of problems with diseases, including the mad monkey fever, the throat leeches, which were particularly bad in the area, and of course the general assaults of the undead that were continuing to attack his camp. He explained to the party that he needed their help, and using their jug of alchemy with mayonnaise and water, managed to help the paladins and the clerics who did not have access to their gods at the moment, and it seems like their gods weren't listening to them, unfortunately. So party helped them out, and then that very night, even though Bert called it, there was an assault from the undead. Hordes of zombies poured down upon Camp Vengeance, and an undead Allosaurus made its way towards the group as well. They managed, after a bitter fight, to take it down, and to take down some of the necromancers who were leading forth these hordes of minions. But even after the assault was won, several of the troops had been lost and wounded. The gate had been battered down almost entirely by the Allosaurus. The party managed to recoup their losses and speak with Commander Breakbone, who told them that he had had several dealings with the Grung, a strange group of frog-like people who lived in the area, and who wouldn't really work alongside the Order of the Gauntlet at all. It seemed as though the group of paladins were not having the best of time dealing with the Grung because they go tramping around in their heavy armor in their forest, and the Grung use poison to attack them. However, Commander Breakbone explained that if they could speak with the Grung at the location of Dung Grung Lung, that they will be able to learn more about the strange necromantic curse going on around Chult across the Forgotten Realms. So the party were ready to head off into the Grung areas and territories and see if they could make friends with the Grung. And Commander Breakbone is sending along 2 of his scouts when, luckily for these guys, the undead Allosaurus that they had killed got back up again and is ready to have another go. You know, it's take 2 for this guy. He always deserves a second chance, is what I say. So that's where we're going to begin in Camp Vengeance with an undead Allosaurus breaking everything. But before we do, I'll explain a little bit about what the Tomb of Annihilation Learn by Play series is all about. It's a little bit different from your average Learn by Play, your average actual play series, as I as a DM will be taking moments away from the actual play to explain what I'm trying to achieve in each session each week, hitting a few main topics on how to improve your DM skills. These 2 insight sections are a great chance and opportunity to ask some questions live in Twitch chat and to get them answered as well. This week we're going to be talking about player conflicts and general group conflicts that you might find when playing Dungeons and Dragons. We've all experienced a lot of them here. We've between the group of us, we've been playing for something like 1,000 years, and so we've learned a couple of things about player conflicts and how to resolve them, and we'll be doing that in our Tomb Insight sections and taking some one-on-one moments with the cast and crew to talk about their own experiences today. So, before we dive into today's actual play first segment, we're going to go to the Tomb Insights, our secret DM cave, away from the players, so that we may plot and plan their demise here in just a few moments. But we'll see those guys again in a couple of seconds. We'll mute them and say farewell, players, and good luck. Alright, so, you and I, Twitch, we're over here, and we're going to be talking about conflicts. Player conflicts, DM conflicts, table conflicts, any kind of conflict that you may run into in Dungeons & Dragons. Now, let me walk you through the 3 steps that we're going to be going through today. We've got a 3-step plan today. The first of which is avoiding conflicts. That's the ideal scenario, right? Like, you don't run into any conflicts whatsoever. So we're going to talk about, first of all, how to avoid those with the almighty Session Zero, which I'm sure is a term that you've heard thrown about everywhere. Session Zero, do Session Zero. And I'm going to be doing exactly the same, and a couple of points that may be a little bit fresh and new as well. Next, we're going to talk to the players. What conflicts have they encountered in their own games as a Dungeon Master or as a player? And we're going to learn from them, from Tool School, Sydney, Josh, and Louise, what experiences they've had and how they've managed to resolve some of those as well. The third step is going to be our conflict resolution segment right at the end of the show, where we're going to sort it out and figure out how you can play a game of Dungeons & Dragons in which you have conflicts with people but still be friends with them. Apparently that's the thing. So we're going to do that today. That's our agenda, Brenda, for today. So let's start on topic 1. Let's start on the first Tomb Insight of today. How does one avoid conflict at a table? Because that's the ideal scenario for me, where I play a game of Dungeons & Dragons, I sit down with a new group, I sit down with an old group, and we just have a good time. And we don't have to worry about extraneous factors like stress around a table, player having problem with one another, or people not enjoying the game, and so on. So we'll talk briefly about Session Zero. I don't want to bang on about it too much because I know it's something that gets thrown around a lot of the time, but setting expectations is a really important thing in Dungeons & Dragons. Now, again, if you've been watching a lot of D&D tutorials or DM workshops, and you're probably familiar with this idea, that you could have a session or just a series of messages on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, in which you set those expectations with the players. What are you looking for as a Dungeon Master in this game? What kind of experience are you hoping to achieve, not only for yourself, but for the group? When I'm sitting about and planning my own game, I think about that. I think about what my players enjoy as well. as well as what I personally enjoy, because it's pretty important that you as a Dungeon Master enjoy what you're doing. You don't want to be 100% beholden to the player experience, for instance. So I, as a DM, always want to make sure I hit a couple of things. Usually in my games, personally, I tell the group I'm looking to achieve a couple of things. I want a story-based narrative game, usually. I like to have a heavy focus on roleplay and less of a focus on combat. So that's 3 things that I'll immediately tell the players that if you're playing with me, that's an experience that you're likely to receive. So I tell them what my expectations are, what my goals would be. I then go to the players and say, what about you? What's the ideal session for you? What does the perfect D&D game look like for you guys? Does it look like Critical Role, for instance? You can use examples. Does it look like the C-Team we're streaming right now? Is that the perfect game that looks like for you? Or is it a heavy combat-based game? I hear from each of the players, I'll take notes on what they enjoy and what they don't enjoy, and I'll try and incorporate that into the game as well. Just listening to them and hearing them is almost as important as doing the thing straight away, right? The fact that I've asked them and they know that I've heard them is important for on communication level to make sure that they understand that I understand them. So if a player says to me, I really enjoy combat. And this has happened several times in the past, by the way, where players have come to me and they said, you know what, I know you really enjoy roleplay, and whilst we want to do that as well, we also really enjoy the combat aspect of D&D, and we want to play with that, we want to experience that. And so what I say is, all right, cool, why don't we find a happy compromise where everyone has a good time? I often find that with Dungeons and Dragons, when my players are having a good time, I'm having a good time. So if you can find a happy medium in between, then that's always the perfect solution for me. I ask them what they want, I tell them what I want, and we find a middle road. That is usually the best way to avoid any conflicts down the road for me. You can also bring up topics like, what things are you comfortable with talking about? Are you comfortable with talking about visceral gore? Are you comfortable talking about torture scenes or something like that? Ask them what their limits are, because you don't want to accidentally step on someone's toes with a touchy topic. And in D&D we do talk about touchy topics sometimes, and as a DM I've accidentally put my foot into it sometimes. We all have. So just ask them, what they're comfortable with talking about. Is there anything they're not comfortable talking about? And that can really, really help you down the line, because you don't want to accidentally, give someone a negative experience. So that's something that I'll always ask them. And I'll tell them what my ones are as well, because, you don't want players going off and, talking about super sensitive topics that you feel uncomfortable talking about or going to in Dungeons and Dragons. Because bear in mind, games can get incredibly emotional. They can touch on nerves. And I've been in scenes where you're thinking, wow, that really gets to me. And sometimes that's good. You're going for that experience. And other times you just want to sit back, drink beers, and play Dungeons and Dragons. So set those expectations. Have a session 0, which is, sit around a table, you chat with your friends, or have a group of messages or whatever, where you talk about those things if you can't all get together. And that's my way of avoiding conflict most of the time, just having that open, clear communication. What do you guys want? This is what I want. Let's find something in between, and make concessions for them. I'm going to quickly look in the chat to see if there's anyone. Conflict with a friend and keep being a friend. It's very true. All right, so what's up, Rachel? Right, we're going to head into our first session for today. That's our first little tomb insight. The next one we're going to be talking about is going to be on the player perspective. What conflicts have they encountered? So let's get into the actual session. Let's go back to the players and hear from them. Alright, we're back over here with the players. How's everyone doing? We're all feeling ready for tonight's session? Good. So, let's pick up from where we left off. You guys were just leaving Camp Vengeance. At this point, you're about 15 feet away from this Allosaurus, who was previously undead and dead, and has seemingly begun to get back up again. What I'd like you guys to do really quickly is to roll me initiative to begin up today's game.
Great.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
Happy to do so.
Oh my God.
Fulton's on a 13.
All right.
Desira is on an 8.
It's Josh.
But nat 20.
Wow.
21. Oh, yeah.
Damn, bud.
21.
6.
6 from Reverie. Okay.
Don't say it like that.
Yeah, our rogue's going last.
Rogue's going last. Okay, so it looks like our turn order is Bert on a 21, Fulton on a 13, the Allosaurus is going on a... Fulton on a 14, the Allosaurus is going on a 13, Desira on an 8, and Reverie on a 6. So Bert, you're 20 feet away. The soldiers in the camp are clearly not prepared for this. They've gone back to their tents and are picking up the wounded off the walls and seemingly, just completely unprepared for this new development which has happened as this undead Allosaurus roars and it kind of rumbles back to life before you. But what are you doing at this point?
Contemplating my life choices,
Yeah.
mostly. It's been an odd day.
That's a free action for you.
Okay, wonderful. So Bert looks this thing up and down and grimaces, and immediately I'ma just cast, as it tries to stand back up again, I'ma cast Flaming Sphere like right behind its head. So when it tries to stand up, it just like smashes its head into a flaming sphere, like one of those dodgy lights fixtures that you just bang your head on. You just I keep forgetting it's there. Well, now it hurts you more because it's a flaming sphere. Yeah,
I like it.
it's something Bert can relate to on a personal level. Said no, Bert ever being 2 foot tall.
All right, so this thing has to make some kind of saving throw.
It is indeed. So I would ask you very kindly if you could make me a Dex saving throw, my dear friend.
All right then. Let's see if the Allosaurus can dodge this one. He rolls a 4. Probably not.
That is a shocking fail, and that is a 7. Thank you very much.
That makes him question even his life choices.
Yeah, we have a connection. We have a moment.
Yeah.
He looks at me. I look at him. I'm just like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
'Tis the way we are.
Yeah, you see the flesh sear away on the creature. What little flesh was left on its bones is completely melted, and you realise, before those melted bones were kind of just in a pile, but they seem to have sort of reformed themselves. So,
Good.
anything else you want to do, Bert? Do you want to move, for instance?
Yeah. So I'd like to, not be there. That would be great. So Bert suddenly realizes he's capable of doing that, and he moves away. He moves very far away. He runs. Hopefully, I'm going to try and get back up onto the wall, far away from this thing. I still have my mage armor up, but I don't have any bonus actions to do. So I'm gonna just do that and run like the wind.
I like it. All right, that takes it to Fulton's turn. You see Bert cast a flaming sphere next to it and then run away.
How far away is the Allosaurus from Bert? Well, actually, I'm trying to remember. Bert, are you still injured from last time, or did I get you healed all the way up?
I'd love to say that you had time to, but you did, apparently. I'm looking at my... Yep, apparently you healed me.
Okay. I'm looking at my spells. And I know I cast some heals. I'm just saying, is anyone down? Is anyone down hit points at this point?
I'm pretty sure you took a short rest after the combat.
There we go. That's why.
Yeah.
So, well, in that case... I claim, let me double check to make sure that I get back my channel divinity after a short rest.
Oh, yeah, you do.
So in that case, I am going to try to turn this so we can make our getaway. So I'm going to do a turn undead on this booger. This giant Allosaur. So Fulton basically, just as he did before, sort of calls upon his goddess, and this sort of bright, shimmering silver moonlight just sort of emanates out from him in a bubble, and anything in 30 feet of me that is undead has to make a wisdom saving throw against a 14 to save.
Roll a 12.
He does not then. So he has to flee for the next minute.
All right. So does anyone want to, and we're going to hand wave this seeing as the Allosaurus is basically fleeing. Does anyone want to make any particular attacks against it as it flees, or would you guys like to make good your escape?
No, I'm just going to sort of keep the flaming sphere between it and the gate. So if it tries to go back through the gate, or if it has anything, I don't trust this thing. I don't know what the cleric's done. Maybe just, have you have you got time to listen to all of the fantastic ravings about my god? And it just went, no, he's running away. I don't know what he's pulled here, but I'm going to keep that flaming sphere in the doorway, hopefully keeping it away. Quick question.
Yes.
Do Reverie's hands also have to make a save against that, being that they are mottled, gross, undead, necrotic? No?
Her hands run away.
They're not undead hands. They're just crusty.
They
Shut
just
up, Josh.
That might be worse.
I think that's worse.
They're not undead, they're crusty.
You need a mani-pedi. You need a day at the spa.
Well, someone take me out.
So you see the Allosaurus just see, fear in its undead eyes as it looks upon Fulton, and Fulton hands him the leaflet of his goddess. The Allosaurus just kind of turns and runs away, tail between its legs. During which you guys, along with the 2 scouts which Commander Breakbone have given you to accompany you in your journey, will say, "Come along, quick!" And they are leading the way off into the forest. Into the jungle, rather. Presumably you guys follow.
I follow.
Yeah, Zero will follow right behind.
Good, excellent. Once away from the Camp Vengeance and far away from the Allosaurus, you guys find yourselves in something of a dead zone, by which I mean an undead zone. The undead outside Camp Vengeance have been kind of pushed backwards, but as you look through the trees and canopies, you guys will notice that there are stalking figures of murmuring undead who appear to be walking in great number, if with not any real purpose or intelligence through here. It seems as though they're kind of scattered about. It may very well be that some of these are remnants from the army that attacked you and have been lost, and now no longer without a necromancer to guide them, have been lost and just stumbling about. The 2 scouts are determined to lead you through them. One of them will turn back to you and say, if we go quietly, they won't be able to notice us. They're rather stupid. And they take to a kind of like crouching position and begin to move through the jungle stealthily. How would you guys like to proceed?
Stealthily?
Are you sure?
I would like to do stealthy things.
Yes.
I would like to
With
attempt
my
stealthy
undead
things.
hands.
Do we have anyone who's not particularly stealthy other than me?
Hello.
You're 2 feet tall. Just like curl up in a ball and start rolling.
So
I'm not Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm a gnome. Racist.
I grab, or I don't grab. I look to Bartleby and go, perhaps I can assist you some in helping you navigate this area in a more quiet fashion than you are accustomed. And I'm going to cast guidance on him, which
I thought you were just
gives
going to
him,
gag me.
Yep, which basically gives him a D4 to an ability check, which I assume stealth is an ability check. So
Yeah.
It is.
It is
Okay.
indeed. Alright, so everybody can roll me a stealth check. We're going to take a group one here and try and get a majority of good rolls. DC's
Oh, I'm on a
particularly high.
5.
Oh,
19.
oh, wait.
Hey.
Hold on. Let me roll that.
you got a D4.
It's gonna be 6. Okay.
No.
Okay.
And
An
8. Ooh.
So, Bert, what was that stealth roll?
It's a mighty 8.
A mighty 8? Okay, to 0 on a 5, is it?
A mightier 5.
Even mightier. Ah.
Yeah,
don't think
Fulton's
you
only
quite
on a
understand how
12.
this
I don't
game
know how
works.
stupid they are.
Reverie's on a
19.
19, and Squall for the Furbo.
12.
Fulton, 12. Hey.
Perhaps I should assist all of us with this next
In the
time.
future. Well, so you guys are going to note that one down. You guys are stalking through the jungle, making your way past a great deal of the zombies in this area. However, you will notice the deeper you're going along with these 2 scouts, and these murmuring zombies are going completely lifeless and very unperceptive. You know, you'll notice that whole like birds are like perched on their shoulders and like pecking out their eyes, and they don't seem to even be able to notice that. However, you are beginning to notice that there are several larger zombies in this area as well. They are 4 armed apes. and they have seemingly been transformed as well. They have these kind of half-leering, dead kind of faces, and they kind of stalk about with a little bit more intelligence to them, you think, than necessarily sort of human zombies that are around in the area. After several hours of travel through this land, you notice that the canopy and the jungle around you begins to go thicker. You're running into all sorts of plants which are incredibly poisonous and sharp as well. It's like going through brambles, but like poisonous brambles. And the scouts are trying their best to lead you through here. However, they will note to you that the deeper we go, the more dangerous it's getting. We're very close now to where we encountered the grung.
Can I try and identify what these 4 armed ape things are? Because I'm not gonna lie, I think I know out of character, and if so, I might cry. Is there a way to like do that? Can I roll a nature check?
Yeah, roll me a nature check.
Okay. On a 20, do I need to cry?
So what you'll know about these things, you may have spotted one back in Port Nyanzaru, but potentially as a pet. These are like big ape creatures, basically. You don't know a whole deal about them. You'd suspect that they live in like tree canopies, and as Chaz mentioned, they are very similar to like our own silverbacks. Very large, very muscly and strong, and with that kind of primal intelligence to them, which they probably can sense and hunt fairly well, because they are, large mammals which manage to exist in a habitat along with apex predators such as Allosaurus. So you have to imagine that these things could probably put up a good, decent fight. And the other thing that you'd realize as well is that they would travel in bands as well. These would be, as mammals do, in tribes, basically. And so another way which they defend themselves is in force of numbers and in, pack tactics. So that's what you learn about these. However, the zombies themselves, these kind of zombie apes, don't seem to have that quite same level of strength and intelligence, but they definitely seem to have a little bit more to them than the kind of human zombies that are just sort of moping about like moody teenagers.
Okay. So Bert sort of says very quietly, right, I'm not entirely sure what we are to do with all this. They look particularly nasty. Sort of like try and grab one of the scouts and be like, do you know what they are?
The scout will kind of whisper back to you and say, they are large ape things, I think they're called. Gorillions.
Yeah. Both in and out of character. Okay.
Gorillons. They're very nasty things.
We stay quiet
They
then.
look like they give good hugs, indeed. Does anyone have a bag I can climb into?
Yes, but
I climb into his bag. If I'm in his bag, can I forfeit stealth checks and just go off Fulton's?
I can carry you, I guess. I'm 8 feet tall. You're 2 feet tall. I'm a strength 16.
I want to go in Fulton's bag. He climbs up into the bag and
you're totally yodeling this
out like a terrified. Yeah.
Is that acceptable to our DM?
I like that.
I'm so rubbish at stealth. I'm your pocket thesaurus. I know big words and stuff like that. Please don't let me get crushed.
All right. So the scouts seem fine with this for the most part. About this way of proceeding. They actually probably think it's for the best, and will continue to proceed. You mentioned last week that you were thinking of having when you encountered the grung, that there may be some tactics that you would use when you encountered them to befriend them somewhat. The scout will ask you what that is. He mentions every grung that we've run into has tried to kill us. Is there anything you can do to stop that from happening? Their poison is most virulent.
Well, we have what they want. They are simple creatures. They desire food, they desire supplies, things like that. If we can give them that, if we can set up some form of deal, perhaps, they will listen.
I think the plan was actually we were supposed to hunt something and bring them an offering. Do we have any? Is there anything around here we could hunt? Not them, mind you. Like a dinosaur or something. We could bring them as an offering.
You want to hunt a dinosaur?
Well,
we need some practice. We have dino racing competition in like 4 weeks' time. We want to get in the game.
The guy looks like you're a madman.
High fives Fulton, whether he wants to or not.
Yes, Fulton. Yes, they were saying, Breakback was saying they needed food and water. We can see if we can scavenge some food, or if there's some type of herbivore beast that is less dangerous than others that we could hunt here. That would be preferable.
Oh, okay, yes. Well, maybe we could find something that is not so dangerous as the allosaur back there. If you want us to go hunting, we can do. But bear in mind, we're only a few hours away from the Grung territory.
Well, I'd figure we don't want to have to carry it too far. I hope we can make a sizable offering. Then, with Bert's ability to know one's thoughts and my ability to calm their emotions, perhaps we can at least get a word in before they attempt to attack.
It's not going to be easy. I don't speak their language, so most of the usual stuff that I can do, which is just sort of read you like an open book, won't work. But I do get sort of murky impressions of how one feels about something. It's often disgust and hatred and anger, but mostly that's just because I've already started speaking to them. If I just remain quiet and let someone else sort of gesture that we bring food, I can tell you sort of if they want it. If they're not interested, we can try a different tact. I'll be like that quiet and awesome diplomat who sits in the corner and does the typing.
Question for you, Will, as our DM.
Yes.
Does my speech of beast and leaf potentially help with this? I know they're not necessarily a beast, but might basically it's you have the I'll link it. It lets me communicate in a limited manner with beasts and plants, understand the meaning of your words, though have no special ability to understand them in return, but just gives me an advantage on charisma checks to influence.
Yeah, I like that. I'll allow that.
Okay, so yeah, I think the idea is, this is sort of what I'm thinking. I cast Sanctuary on myself so that hopefully they don't just shoot me from afar. I've got to get within 20 feet of them to do calm emotions, and then try the speech of beast and leaf to somehow kind of prostrate myself and give him this offering of food and water.
Okay, you could definitely try that.
You can certainly try. Oh, the favorite words of every player. Okay, sure.
All right.
Unless someone else has got something better.
Yep, sounds good to me.
My idea would be to get out of your backpack before you do that and stay well away from the whole situation. That's my idea.
Well, the question, at this point, do we need you? Actually, you letting me know how I'm doing might help.
Yeah, I'll stay in your backpack, and the backup plan is give me something that Fulton will say, and if you say that, I'll cast sleep, and we just run away.
Ofi Finoki.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes.
It's always the safe word. Okay, so yeah, the group of you continue along with the two scouts with this plan in mind. We're not hunting down a dinosaur, correct? We're going.
No, we still need a food offering, so we need something.
All right, so
something like the prey of the Allosaurus.
Okay,
would be what we're going for.
Yeah.
So somebody...
the cow of the dino world,
right.
if you will.
Yes, the dino
Don't
cow.
start that again.
Can we?
No more
just
cattle.
Can we find a crane that lowers it in, like the cow? I've seen Jurassic Park. I know how they feed. Just a crane comes along with a cow and it drops in. Can we just go find that?
Yes.
That'll be fun.
Yes, you
I think
can.
they have a rental shop here.
It's right next to the canoe boats.
Yes. Is there a cow we can rent? We'll definitely give it back.
All right, let's bring it in. So, someone in the party can roll me a survival check. Whomsoever you would like to go hunting, and who you think might be good at it.
I went ahead and rolled. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I got a 22.
Don't apologize.
I've
You
got
have
good
to
survival.
go.
Yeah.
He's gone. He's off. He's like hunting Stegosaurus and Triceratops wherever he goes. Yeah. So yeah, Fulton heads off immediately. I'm gone. He Batmans it and comes back about an hour later, having slaughtered this sort of mini Triceratops. Pretty sure it's a baby, but it's still big enough to, like, it's a sizable thing. I mean, like, even baby Triceratops, you probably have to, like, carve this thing up and butcher it a little bit to carry it back.
Okay.
But yeah, you have this large offering of food. You're pretty sure you could try eating this yourselves. It may not be the safest thing to eat necessarily, but you have learned that the Grung have a incredible immune system to basically all toxins and poisons.
Oh, okay. So we know that. I was going to cast purify food and drink if we think it's necessary, but if we know that well enough, then not worth using the spell slot.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll give that one to you guys because you Commander Breakbone did mention.
Yeah, that's
that
right.
last
He
time.
did say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have your offering. The scouts lead you to this next area, and as you're pushing your way through these thickets and vines, they say, "Round this corner. That is where the Grung attacked us last, from the treetops. Now, we're not too keen ourselves on going back in there. So, is it okay if we just sort of leave it to you guys? We've
I think
got
that might be best.
we've
I
got a
think
camp
that's
to defend.
probably for the best. Maybe
We have
just
this under control.
one of us heading in.
Right.
You all have my backs if this all goes south, yes?
Right.
Yes,
So-
absolutely. I just feel like we shouldn't come in with this sort of combative approach that that all of you have been using. It obviously hasn't worked, so we're going to try something a bit different.
Okay.
So yeah, I can only do sanctuary. Yeah, just because of spell slots. So, hey, Will. So I'm gonna put my shield sort of on my back, so I can carry this. The shield is basically over top of Bert, so he's underneath, sort of under my shield. I'm gonna cast sanctuary on myself. Let me mark off the spell slot. So sanctuary. So that's a wisdom saving throw for them to
Attack you.
attack me.
Okay.
And I'm going to walk forward as peacefully and sort of solemnly as possible with this offering of food and water. So I guess alchemy jug in one arm, carrying the Triceratops, however I can juggle these things.
Okay.
And hopefully, if they don't just shoot me from afar, once they get within range of me, use calm emotions and my speech of beast and leaf to try to somewhat prostrate myself and give them this offering.
All right. So, is Fulton headed in first to this sort of thicketed glade area?
Yeah, I'll probably go like kind of stealthily behind, maybe weaving through some plants,
Okay.
Have my
Whatever
flank.
whatever's there.
I'm in his bag.
Clever girl.
Yes. Oh god! No! Please no! Please no! Bert's going to be in his bag, sort of as his backup. But Bert's just been like solemnly crying in your bag about such a young Triceratops. I've seen some things today, and but
Yeah, we're talking in chat about how it's like Land Before Time with Littlefoot's mother.
Oh,
Oh, why would you bring that up?
My.
Who said that?
Oh, look at you, Grimjack. Somewhere there's a Triceratops mom calling out, Terry.
Terry, where are you? Terry,
I
go back.
quit. I formally quit.
It's my resignation, man.
right, we're going
Alright,
in.
So, you guys are going in. Fulton's going first. As you guys head into this thicketed glade area, which is almost entirely covered above, it's actually fairly dark because of that. The canopy overhead is incredibly thick. You step in, and underneath your foot, there's these kind of like thick, or like almost like marshy leaves have been like compacted together, like it's a wet day in fall. And above you, pretty immediately as you reach inside, and Fulton goes in. You begin to hear these chirps and these little chitters. And as that sound happens, you guys look above you and you see these 7 green skinned with little black spots on them. Little creatures that appear to be very frog-like in appearance. They're slightly kind of large, round, black eyes. You can see their kind of tongues all flicker out from occasion. You also notice that they seem to be carrying either sort of tribal spears or what looks to be blowpipes upon them as well, with feathered darts that are tucked into makeshift bandoliers on them. They aren't particularly tall. Indeed, it's difficult to tell them apart from a goblin at first when you spot them, because they meld so well into the camouflage of their surroundings as well. And at times you will even see their skin change colour in a sort of mottling way. It doesn't change from like green to red, but it will change from a bright green to a dark green. And you see them seem to be conversing amongst themselves and surrounding the group of you above you. You're in no doubt that these creatures have been prepared for your arrival.
So we're hearing this chirping. They haven't attacked us yet, though.
They haven't yet attacked you. They seem to be conversing with one another in a language.
So is there, by any chance, any sunbeam or anything that's breaking through the clouds, breaking through this heavy foliage?
Yeah, there's a single beam which is coming through in the center of the thicket.
I look up at the grung, having noticed their skin color change, and since mine does a similar thing as a furlbog, I look up at them trying to catch their eye, and I pass my arm through the sunlight so that they see that my skin changes color as well. And I've got my 3 spears on my back, and I just sort of, again, lift up the food and the water and place it on the ground and just sort of try to step away, almost welcoming, motioning to this offering to try to get them to at least heed and maybe think that we have some kind of connection.
Yeah. Roll me a charisma check at advantage, thanks to your speak with Beast and Leaf, is it?
Yep. Just flat old charisma save or charisma check?
Charisma check.
Charisma check.
Yeah.
Can I give myself... I can't give myself guidance, can I?
I don't believe so.
I don't think I can. So, there we go. With advantage, let's see how we do. A 13.
13. So these creatures kind of back and forth with one another, seeming to get quite agitated when they see you do this. One of them, after a moment's hesitation, will jump down to the ground with one kind of like leap from the top of the tree. You know how frogs have those really kind of like springy, sudden, explosive bits of movement? Mm-hmm. First they're kind of just standing still for a very long time, and it just jumps down onto the ground before you and looks at you, folds over its big black eyes, and it says,
very quietly, I would like to try and cast detect thoughts on this thing.
Okay.
Just to see sort of like what's it thinking. I know I'm only going to get like visuals that will make any sense, but sort of what's going through its head at the moment.
Okay.
Boosh.
You get the images of zombies in your head. What is clear to you is these creatures, and like a sword cutting them down. Which loosely translates to help.
Okay. So very quietly, the backpack of helpful knowledge and informativeness, and also occasional tour guides through strange crypts, sort of very quietly just is going to say, they're afraid that the zombies, they can't handle them themselves, and they'd probably like some help. So if you could pantomime, like cutting down a zombie, that would be... Oh, no, don't do that. Oh, they'll probably think you're attacking them. Try, work with it. You can do this. I believe in you.
Fulton just is like, and...
Oh, no, I've got this. It's sort of like you. I'm going to just carefully like reach my hand out, and I'm going to... Oh, this is a terrible idea. But Bert
I
does
think
it.
I know what you're thinking of.
Oh no.
He reaches his hand out, and I would like to cast Prestidigitation, and I would like to make. You can make small trinkets.
Yes.
I'd like to make hanging from Fulton's belt the severed, shrunken head of a zombie, like a trophy from a kill, to show him sort of a competent fighter. Which so yeah, he'll just and leave that is.
Looks like Josh broke over there just for a second. Looks like he's back. Okay, so yeah, Bert, you begin to create this little trinket on the creature, on Fulton rather, and the creature like prods its spear at it, and looks up questioningly towards Fulton.
Fulton will take it sort of off of his belt, and I assume these guys are about 2 to 3 feet tall as well. So Fulton is kind of towering over top of them, and drop it on the ground, and with a very over-exaggerated stomping motion, as though he's a giant, slam his foot down on it, and sort of nod that he is a slayer of zombies.
Yeah. It gives you a universal sign of nodding. And, yeah, haha, you finger guns. Yes. And he like puts down his spear, and will kind of like gesticulate up to his grung companions. And it seems as though they kind of like lower their weapons as well. And they similarly, explosive bout of movement, jump back down onto the jungle floor, and they seem to be turning and leaving. The lead Grung, who jumped down towards you, gestures with his spear for you to follow him.
Okay, so yeah, I do.
Do they just
I kind of
leave
wave. I'm wondering if they're gonna be surprised if all of you guys come out too, but I think I might just sort of almost kind of like make a grunt, almost like wait, and then wave for my friends to come out and just sort of look to him and sort of smile and just say, and then point at me, kind of stamp on the totem again as well, just sort of be like that. We all kill zombies. They're with me.
Yeah,
they're with me, guys.
These guys are cool too. Yeah, they have a moment of. And then it seems to lower its guard when you do that same motion of stomping zombies. It really likes that motion.
Okay.
And seems
Into it.
He's really into it.
Do they take the Triceratops with them?
He will pick up the meat, and they will begin to carry it back to wherever it is they're leading you to.
Cool.
All right.
So, well, that went well.
I've always wondered what it was like to make friends so easily.
It is not quite over yet. But yes,
Yes.
that was a good start.
They haven't seen your hands yet.
Stop!
Ooh, yeah, gloves might be a good idea.
You're so mean.
So, as you follow the Grung, they lead you through a maze of thorns and vines. It seems as though they have ways of traversing through the tree canopies that make it a lot easier for you, for them rather. And they will lead you up trees where you have to make several long jumps. It's a little bit ropey at times, but they kind of help you swing from vine to vine, and will help you along the way, although they do get quite irritated at how bad you are at it a lot of the time. So if you're not particularly athletic type, then you're definitely frustrating the Grung. They're like, why don't you guys just jump around in trees all the time like we do? This makes so much more sense. But they lead you through an opening in the maze wall itself until you see what seems to be a circular maze. If you're familiar with like maze hedges and stuff like that, it's something similar to that. However, what you will see is that all of the spikes and brambles, which look incredibly sharp, and with these huge vines and thorns on them, which could skewer someone, are indeed skewering people. They have skewered what looks to be several hundred undead, who are just mindlessly kind of like stuck onto these fawns. Some of them have died on there. Some of them are still in the process of like trying to climb up. But you can tell that there's no way any of them are getting up this fawn maze whatsoever. And it's quite a cacophony of these undead who are just like, and in between that you'll hear the loud burbling and bubbling chirps of the grung as you have found dung, grung, lung. And you hear like from the city itself, as you indeed come across this civilization deep within the jungles of Chult. As the Grong allow you a moment to stare in awe at their magnificent creation, you will see that inside the maze itself, it appears to be a shrine of some kind of large frog being, presumably a Grung, some kind of god or goddess perhaps, which they have managed to create with stone. They shrug as they move past several of the zombies if you give them, questioning looks. And they kind of like stab some of the zombies and as they go, showing their dominance over the creatures.
To sort of, again, try to keep cementing this, can I drop a couple sacred flames just to, if they like stomping, they're going to really like sacred flame falling, this radiant, holy fire coming from the heavens and hitting some of these.
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
Nice little cantrip action there.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll sear through several of these zombies that have been skewered on there like a Greek kebab, but a really bad one, like a really low tier. It's like 1 a.m. when you've gone down to this kebab restaurant that's still open. They're serving undead flesh.
Kebab house.
Kebab house.
Oh, yeah.
And you kind of burn it away. The Grung, like, they go wild at this. They do a little kind of like what you think might be a dance. As they kind of like they do a little kind of like shuffle. If you have ever seen, this is a very specific example. It's probably not going to work. But like some animals will do a kind of like a mating like warble and move. Like some birds will do that. They kind of do that as well. They kind of like stick out their butts a little bit and have a little wiggle as that happens.
That sounds kind of cute.
It's kind of cute to you, but you're pretty sure it's like we just messed those guys up. Like this is a war cry.
This is strutting, man.
This is Animal Kingdom. Like I got the stuff. So they do that for a moment, and then they let you through this opening in a maze wall. You're pretty sure this would have taken you hours to find the opening in the maze wall because there aren't any like clear openings or entrances. They don't have like a north gate, this is a south gate or anything like that. It's just a maze. But these guys clearly have the eye to see through the canopy and camouflage that surrounds it. And you see as you break through the maze wall a small lake surrounded by reed huts, ferns, and lily pads. Rising up from a flat island in the middle of the lake is a 60-foot tall shrine of painted mud bricks, shaped in the likeness of a giant frog. Stairs climb from the lake shore to an open doorway carved into the frog's fat belly. Patrolling the shrine's perimeter are several small frog-like humanoids with bright orange skin and short bows. You enter into a bustling metropolis of Grung life, as they appear to be living all sorts of crazy lives within him. Not only do you see the shrine, but you see these several other areas of... It seems to be like hovels, more so than necessarily like houses in which they live in. These hovels are dug in the shores of the lake and are basically squat huts made from swamp moss and reeds, which have been plastered together with mud and potentially dung. So you're looking at kind of like Motte and Bailey constructions to parallel that to like a medieval example, I suppose. And you'll notice that there's this chorus of kind of like chirping, this very strange noises. It's like you've walked into I don't know, like a zoo, and you've walked into like the bird area, like where it's just like and these strange noises just surround you guys. The 6 or 7 Grong or so who are leading you, these green little speckled creatures, will lead you through towards the shrine area. Several of the local Grong, who haven't spotted you yet, will run up to you with spears and blowpipes, ready to attack. You know, they do their like defense alert kind of thing. But the green Grung will kind of like wave them aside and have a brief conversation with them. And it seems like after that they kind of back down and go back to their chores. So you are being watched by 20 or 30 Grong who are dancing along the hovel huts on the top of the roofs, leading you guys in and watching you as you go. Now, as you arrive at the shrine, you are led through the shallow lake. In this lake, there appear to be catfish swing around. The lake itself is quite muddy and thick. It doesn't look like they just use this for swimming in. That makes sense. You haven't seen any latrine pits around here, for instance. And you will spot several Grong seem to be squatting on the shores as you're led through this rather gross lake. You wouldn't want to have a drink from this anytime soon. It wouldn't just be the throat leeches that would get to you. You're led up the steps of this great stone and mud brick edifice until you're let into the interior of this shrine. You see a large hollow room. Inside the entrance is a clear pool of water that ranges in depth from 2 to 5 feet. Phosphorescent fungi illuminate the pool with soft, dreamy hues. Short, frog-like humanoids of different colours are fussing with the fungi and tossing flower petals into the pool. At the shrine, at the back, is an elevated semicircular basin of water 10 feet high. Wallowing in the basin is a grung with golden skin. On its brow rests a golden circlet. An orange skin grung perches nearby, short bow at the ready. The green grung kind of do a bowing gesture of compliance, I suppose, and subservience to this golden grung who sits in his pool. The golden grung himself seems to be pretty fat in comparison to the leaner frogs. Perhaps he looks a little bit more like a toad than just a frog, and has this big circlet golden surrounding his visage. The green grung push you into the shrine room and leave you there. The golden grung looks at you all.
Oh no. Oh no.
Are you okay?
Are we sacrifices?
You don't know. I mean, the ones with weapons seem to have left.
I feel like it's gonna eat us.
I'll give a bow to this lovely, beautiful, handsome grung of power and renown.
He is the most stunning grung that you've seen so far. I mean, he does actually glow gold.
Is he the stunning grung of grung lung grung dung grung lung?
Yes, still score. Yes, he is.
The most stunning of the grung.
And that's today's episode title.
Yeah, Reverie is like I mean, she thinks exactly what I just said. Like, she's sort of under the impression that, like, we're probably about to get sacrificed. And considering her line of work, that would make sense that that's kind of what her mind jumps to. And so she's, like, looking at you guys and is doing the same thing. Like, bowing and to just, like, maybe you guys are onto something. But she's definitely, like, extremely cautious of this. Any sort of jumpy movement or anything that is going to set her off.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you guys sort of bow in subservience, the grung will tap his golden circlet, which seems to glow a little radiance, and says,
"Are you here to help us with the great ritual of Nang Nang?"
We beseech help from you as well, but certainly we are willing to assist you in trade for your assisting us.
Would I have ever heard of the ritual of Nang Nang?
No.
Okay, good.
It's a very specific Grungian thing, you get the sense. It's one of their sort of nonsense-sounding words. So
Yes, the Nang Nang ritual.
I do it every Saturday with my family.
Yes, the ping pong and the nang nang and the boogie woogie.
Yes.
Yep. Reverie will be like, what exactly do you require of us for your ritual?
As several of the other grung in the area, the kind of servant ones, like throw petals onto the pool where the golden grung is seated in the kind of murky depths. The orange grung with the short bow at the side, who's wearing a kind of like tribal headdress. You get the sense that her paler like underbelly would signify that she's a female, from being able to have a look at some of the grung around here, and generally being a little bit slimmer in build than the male grung that you met. She looks towards the group of you as well. The presumably king says, "Well, it's very important. It's all objects of our attention on it right now. Priestess Kruk, why don't you tell them?" And Priestess Kruk, who is presumably this orange grung, steps up, and she says, and you sense the tone is perhaps a little bit apologetic. She says, "It is to summon the great priestess Nang Nang, so that our great king, King Grok," gestures towards the golden grung, "may mate with her and mate god babies." And Grok says, "Yes, very important. When I meet with Nang Nang, she will come down from the great ritual, and she will mate with me. Then we will create the most beautiful grung."
Bert climbs out of the backpack because he's had enough, and sort of clambers down. Just hold on a minute, and he nods. His hat falls off. He puts it back on. Just so I understand that you are a king, and from what I could fathom, Nang Nang is your god.
Nang Nang is a goddess. A beautiful, beautiful goddess. The great ritual has ever been part of my people's culture, and I, King Grok, will be the one to achieve it.
And so what do you need us to do to assist you in achieving that?
He says,
Well, you must speak with Karuk. She is the great priestess, and she knows everything about the great ritual of Nang Nang.
Okay. And Reverie will like turn to her.
You look at Karuk, and she looks a little nervous. And says, "Perhaps we can talk about this in private. We don't want to waste a great king's time." And Grook says,
"Yes, I have many things to do. Many things indeed, like king things."
And she bows and says, yes, king things. And as she kind of like bows over herself, and she's like, like she's almost like washing her hands in like subservience. She's got that sort of okay, King Grok sort of look, and Grok goes,
"Very good. Once you help us with the ritual, well, I'll give you whatever it is you want. I am a king, you know. I command great armies."
We thank you. We will consult with your priestess.
Kruk, she gives you a kind of like nod this way kind of look.
Yeah, I'll
Fulton has a sneaking suspicion, being a religious man himself.
I don't feel good.
I feel great.
I feel kind of bad.
So yeah, I guess we follow her.
Yeah. So she leads you out of the chamber. Grok kind of like waves you away with a fatty hand, I guess. It's not really a paw. And Kruk leads you into this kind of side chamber, which has got a quiet pool in it in which she sits. It looks like the grung maintain a lot of their moisture by bathing in the pools, as their skin itself seems very kind of I don't know, osmosis, what's the term for it? I don't know, osmosified. Yes.
Sure.
Sounds like science words, right? So someone will comment of the correct
You mean
term
like
for action.
hydrophilic?
I don't know. They wet. Their bodies are wet. That's what I'm trying to say.
They need to keep damp, moist.
Moist.
They want to be
Moist.
moist.
They like to keep moist.
So moist.
So
Yeah.
moist.
So Croup is keeping it moist, and she kind of lays down in the pool and is like, so, yes, this whole ritual of Nang Nang thing.
Can you
Yes.
finally tell us what we're meant to do for this?
She says, oh, well, I'd rather, I think that it might not work. Well, what happens is we on when the moon is most full tomorrow night, we go outside of the shrine with King Grope. And we cover him in petals and flowers and water, and Nang Nang should just arrive. Or so the legend goes.
And what part do we play?
Oh, well, I've convinced King Grope that I couldn't do it until I had someone else to help. You see, I don't think it's going to work at all. In fact, I think it's just legend. But King Groke, he will hear nothing of it. We simply must convince him that the ritual of Nang Nang has occurred and that the great goddess has come down. And she goes into a little backpack and she gets out these little jars, little vials of what looks to be powder. And she says, I have procured some of Nolzur's marvelous pigments. They are magic and allow one to create images which appear to be real. It is my hope that with your assistance, we can summon a... and she does like grung air quotes. Goddess Nang Nang.
Can I roll an insight check to make sure that she doesn't actually want to sacrifice us?
Sure.
I don't know. I have this sense. And I rolled a 14.
It's difficult to read grung because they're not humans. You're fairly sure she's not?
Okay.
Can Bert roll an insight check to see if they want him to dress up as Nang Nang? I feel like this is where this is going.
Please, by all means. Give me an insight check. 19. You're absolutely certain that this is what is called for in this situation. However, more seriously, you look at the pigments that she's got, and you realize that these are fairly powerful magic items. These will allow you to create the image of something which appears to be real, and you can animate it as well. It's like a minor illusion, more like a powerful illusion, I suppose. Yeah.
And I mean, you have to paint it on something, or just like paint it in the air.
You can paint it on a surface and it will appear. And she says, we don't need all of the pigments, so when we are done and have convinced King Groke, then I will give the rest to you, and you will also have the favor of King Groke and his vast
And how
knowledge.
are we to know what Nang Nang looks like? We were called here to defeat the undead. This is very out of our range.
Oh, Desira, do you know nothing of nature? He wants to mate with her.
Yeah.
Pretty.
I am aware of that, yes.
We need to make her pretty.
What is a
pretty
sexy?
girl.
What is pretty to a grub?
What is sexy in Grum? What's in at the moment?
She... What are those dangly fruit bits that toads have? So basically, she says,
What does the new Grung Lung fashion
right, yeah.
report say?
She's like, well, you see, this whole shrine is in dedication of Nang Nang. There are pictures, and indeed, the whole shrine is Nang Nang. If you look outside at it, that's her.
Oh, the 60-foot tall thing.
She is a frog.
Sorry. The 60-foot tall thing.
She nods as though
Excuse me.
that was pretty obvious to Zero. Like, yes, she's a frog. Well, actually, she probably looks more perplexed at you. Like, why would you ask that? Like a dog cocking its head at you.
So,
she's
Like it's more frog-like, I suppose, than you.
if she's never come down exactly, then how do you know that is what she's meant to look like?
She face palms with her little grung hand and says, "Ooh, we don't. It's all made up. Ooh, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's gonna work because I
Reverie.
don't think it's real."
Faith is all about belief.
Oh.
That's what they believe.
No.
Hey, I'm a cleric. I'm allowed to say stuff like this. That's what they believe she looks like. That's what she should look like. We just need to make it real.
I guess.
Says the cleric. Never let you live this down, bud.
I know, right? So, conflict. Talking about player conflict today.
Oh my god.
Let us get this over with then. We have places to be.
Well,
So
we have
these
to wait
these
till
pigments, I mean, so he's going to be able to mate with whatever we draw with these pigments? I mean, this is me as a player asking, or we got to put this, I mean...
We have to be very anatomically correct when we're drawing.
I mean, I'm not trying to be weird here, but, I mean, that's the gig, right? Or do we need to just get him drunk first and then tell him that he had a wonderful time?
Right.
A lovely evening.
She basically explains that, like, if Goddess Nang Nang comes down, then he believes that the next generation of Grung to be born will be beautiful baby.
She's coming down and putting her blessing like on the eggs.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That
Yeah,
makes
I
sense.
thought we were going to have some serious
This
Grung
makes
action
that's
here.
so much better.
This is the D&D channel,
I was a
guys.
little
We
worried.
if this is encounter roleplay, we do that. But yeah, no. This is
All right.
veering away. Yeah, so
So just pretty pictures. So we just need to make some Grung porn.
No.
pretty much. So, yeah, she's like, so, will you help me?
I mean, as a player, I'm so in for this. Fulton's
Yes.
like, of course, whatever we can do to assist you in this matter.
Yeah, and Reverie will be like, yeah, as long as you're not gonna sacrifice us.
Still like, where's the knife? Where's the cookbook?
I'm just like, I want to see what she said. Like, what's her face look like after I say that? I'm like,
roll me an inside check.
that would be so crazy, right? It would be crazy. 16.
Yeah, she doesn't know what the word sacrifice means.
I mean, you don't want to like kill us and like in some sort of ritual thing and like.
She looks at you like that's crazy. Like, in a mating ritual? No.
Okay. She's like, okay. Then I'm totally fine. We can totally help you.
She's like, we only
It's a celebration of life, my friend Reverie. It is the natural cycles. I mean, yeah. Fulton's going to just sort of like, he's all into this now.
She's like, we only sacrifice babies. So yeah, just kidding. So, Krug says, we have until tomorrow night. So, get ready with the pigments, and we need to put on some kind of performance, you know? Like,
There's the trick. I knew this kid had to be easier. There had to be something here.
so what we're going to do is we're going to prepare our Great Ritual of Nang Nang play that you guys are going to perform tonight. as Krook explains that it's customary for a play to be performed and for Nang Nang to arrive during this performance. It's very loose on exactly what needs to happen in the script. The script is Nang Nang arrives at some point. It's understood that there probably should be some worship of King Grok. There probably should be some, references to how great the Grung Nation are. But other than that, what exact story you guys as characters want to tell at tonight's performance is entirely up to you. So Krook gives you this information, basically. If you're looking for outfits, then that's important. She'll direct you to a grung who can get you attire and outfits. She also knows that
the costume department.
There should probably be some music as well. So she directs you to a local grung band who would be very interested in performing at this. And as for the rest of it, you guys are going to need to act some stuff out. So I'm going to need some ideas. We're going to need to storyboard this, guys, as to what you guys like to do for your great ritual of Nang Nang. Any ideas to begin?
So, I mean, I've got...
Here's what I'm thinking.
Well, here's just I think it could be a cool effect. I just don't know how to use it. So let's workshop this.
Yeah.
Let's storyboard.
I can use my Furlbog disguise self to appear up to 3 feet shorter, but it is just disguise self. So I'm actually still there. I'm just kind of like invisible. So I can make myself look like a grung. I can put Bert on my shoulders and it'll look like he's floating up in the air. So maybe he is like the herald of Yang Yang.
Got the name wrong straight away.
Yang Yang, Ning Nong.
We need to be very clear on the
Ding-dong.
Ding dong.
Ding dong.
boogie woogie.
See, I can't be trusted with names. So maybe something like, so I think that could be a cool effect. It can be used to great effect.
I like
that.
that.
The other thing I can do, but it only lasts for like a round, which would be 6 seconds, would be turn invisible. So I'm thinking the disguise self lasts for an hour, which would make it so that you can make like a nice entrance. And basically I would just look like I'm a grung sort of below looking up as the herald Bert comes in. So Bert, you get to get all grungified.
No, dress him up like a little baby, like a fat baby carrot.
Or tadpole.
Oh my god.
I've got minor illusions. We can make some cool things, and I can disguise myself as another grung.
I do have prestidigitation as well,
Oh,
so
okay.
we're gonna spice it up.
This is going to be the best play.
Now we're cooking it here.
All right.
Ooh, and I can make a spiritual weapon because I can make it whatever shape that I want. So it could be, but it floats around. That's the nice part about a spiritual weapon. So it can sort of be like, because how long does it last? It lasts for just a minute, but maybe like at the time of summoning,
like a finale.
Like a giant whatever. It can
make
be a sword,
it the
shield.
Moon. Make it the moon.
Yeah. So basically like a big shield so that it looks like the moon. It's flat. I guess it would have to still be a weapon of some sort, but a shield would look like the moon, so it could.
I love it. I love how complex this has gotten
so good.
And I think
we're going to make this far more.
Yeah, we definitely don't need to have a lot of dialogue because none of us speak their language, and we don't really say anything offensive. It just needs to look pretty.
Okay.
Well, it should be told like in music. It should be an opera.
It's a musical.
It's a silent disco.
It's a grung.
Change everything. Will, go get your guitar.
Off I go, darling.
It's lame-ish, but in done grung.
2, 4, 6, 1.
And I can bring down, as a cantrip, I can bring down sacred flame, so I can have like shooting stars because they're like radiant energy shooting
There's
stars.
There's like a Nang Nang revolution against the undead. Oh, this would be great.
So you mentioned a tadpole, so Bert just gets into his sleeping bag, ties it really tight around his head, and then casts grease on himself and collapses on the floor.
Wiggles.
And just rushes around.
So, this is, because I've got my antlers. So basically, I'm just going to stick you on my antlers before I cast it.
Is this like our rehearsal?
Okay, so so scene one, we need to start with. So scene one, so we're telling the story.
Yes.
Blocking.
Yes. So we start off with the tadpole, the sacred tadpole, the tadpole
That needs to be
the-
blessed.
Yes. Oh yeah, because she's coming down to bless
To
it.
bless him. So she
yes.
come in and bless the baby tadpole.
What if it's a story about the tadpole that missed the blessing, and then by the end of it, the tadpole gets blessed by Nang Nang returning?
Oh, you're making this like a Disney movie. It's, and his mother gets killed. It was a triceratops that was killed.
If we're gonna have me there with your disguise.
Yep.
Keep your backpack on.
Because you can pop out of it.
I can fall into it, and it looks like the tadpole falls down into the grung. Then shift your color to gold, and it looks like when the moon comes, the tadpole falls in.
Oh yeah.
You turn to gold.
So
jazz hands.
Yes, and then sacred flames drop from the sky. The stars all come down.
Action. We've got to have some. We need to like slay some zombies or something. It
That's
can't
be some undead that we
Reverie,
kill.
you've got mank hands. You be a zombie.
Okay.
All right, so here's what's gonna happen.
I can minor illusion some zombies as well.
Okay,
so we can
so-
be
we can take a couple hours with this on, Will. So,
Yeah,
how do you want us to streamline this
This is going to
play
happen.
for you?
We're going to head into our second Tomb Insights whilst the other players prep and prepare for this musical. You guys will you text each other on Zoom your ideas and thoughts. So put something together.
Yeah, we can't talk while you're on that, right?
That's correct. So, message one another.
Okay.
Have
Yeah.
some conversation of that. What we're going to
Bullet
do
points.
is we're going to go around the cast and crew. We're going to talk about some player conflict and resolution whilst they plan and prepare. We'll give them some time to put together what I have so dubbed Grung the Musical. We're going to start with Tool School. Tool School and I are going to go have a quick chat about player conflicts and some resolution. So we'll see you guys again for some more, but the actual play here in a second. So here I find myself with Mr. Tool School. We're going to talk a little bit about some of your own experiences, Tool School, both as a DM and as a player, some conflicts that you've run into, and some ways which you've managed to solve those issues or have seen them solved, or had them solved by a player. So talk to me a little bit, Tool School.
Throw a play, of course. Grung porn gets you out of most any situation like
Very
that.
true.
But no, in all honesty, one of the things that I've had happen before, it was interesting as I was a DM, is we had established a character, a druid, very much so that they were civilization adverse. Had grown up in the woods, had natural shifting, had never really been into towns. And of course, to have a campaign, you kind of have to you end up at the tavern eventually, you end up in town.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this real conflict of him saying, well, my character just wouldn't go into town. It wouldn't. And so I needed to figure out some way to give him a reason other than just, he's over his fear of civilization he goes with, to have a reason, a story reason to go in. So we worked together to come up with, there were some characters he had given in his backstory and some different rituals and things that he'd gone through as a druid. And so we really fleshed those out and turned it into a way to basically him have a mentor who was located on sort of the outskirts of town, who previously had done the same sort of transition from the wilderness into town. And it gave him a way to sort of connect, have some great scene work with me to talk about that. We were able to explore some of these rituals and get some of his backstory into the campaign some more for the rest of the characters to sort of know more about him, because he'd been sort of a mystery up to that point. And so, I guess my advice would be, when you have a character versus story conflict of, that type of conflict, not necessarily player to player, but just that the story suddenly doesn't have a way to really continue forward for that player or his character, bring in some of their past, use that backstory to give them a plausible reason to hook them back in and become a part of the group again.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea, actually. That's interesting that you say that you could work that out in-game as well, but presumably you had a conversation with that player about how do we move this forward together, which made that happen, I suppose.
Absolutely. I mean, that's, I think, one of the big things is, don't be afraid. We sort of knew this was coming because, that the road was leading to Sojourn's Crossing, this big crossroad. And so we knew it was coming. We knew that something needed to be done. I knew as a DM that this would be a problem. And he had sort of mentioned that his character would probably just stay outside of town,
Right.
which becomes difficult for the story. The group is split, and so we sort of talked about it and came up with different, again, flesh out that backstory, give him a reason. And he didn't know that I had placed this NPC there.
Right. Okay.
So it still was a big surprise for him. But by me exploring his backstory more, tell me a little bit more how you got your tattoos. Tell me a little bit more about some of the rituals that you did that kept you in touch with nature. Tell me about the tribe that you came from and some of the things that they did. And so still giving him the surprise that he wasn't like, oh, I need to go meet my mentor. He's going to be here, at the edge of town. As he was exploring and staying outside of town, he came across this, a couple perception checks and investigations. He smelled the tea of his homeland. And so that smelling that had him go investigate, not sure what I had planned. And then I had this big reveal that here was someone that knew his traditions and his rituals and was living here in town. In fact, is a blacksmith. So it was sort of how this person of nature transitioned and then became a part of, as a blacksmith, a vital part of this town.
Okay, yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. And you make a good point. You can always draw in as a wealth of story that you can use from characters' backstories that if you haven't yet developed, there's always a great chance to develop them at any point, I think. So yeah, that's incredible. Awesome. Well, thank you, Tour School, for your 2 insights, my friend. Let's head over to Mr. Encounter Josh to chat with our good friend Josh for a moment here. All right, Josh, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, not bad.
All right.
Enjoying this.
I'm good. I'm glad. I thought you would. So we just talked to Tour School a little bit. I think you heard that conversation there about his character conflict with the story and the narrative. Talk to me a little bit about, because you DM a whole lot, both on Encounter Roleplay and in your own games as well, some conflicts and some resolutions that you might have run into in the past.
One of the things I've found is I've got some interesting players who come from different sort of backgrounds. So I deal with people who some are role players sort of through and through, and they're in it for the story. Other people are in it to roll dice. I know I've got a friend, and he's a slave to his dice, for better or for worse. His rules is written the whole way, and I know there's a lot of conflict around the table over how far you can bend and flex rules. I've often found it genuinely just comes down to making sure that you have something to offer your player. So I sort of explained to him when we came in, I set the tone and I said, I know you're a tabletop gamer, which is your background. This could be roleplay based, but tell me what it is that you want out of it. Because unless I actually ask you that, I don't know what it is you expect to turn up and see. And you're not going to be any good. Like, it's not going to be a good role-playing session.
It's not going to be enjoyable for the group,
Exactly. So he sort of said, I want the opportunity to try this thing, which was a terrible idea, but it was interesting. And I was like, I'll give it a shot. And I worked with him, and it took a little staying late after class, sort of after a session, and chatting to him about it. Yeah, exactly. But for the sake of the group, I think for a lot of it, a DM can really accomplish by putting in an extra 5 minutes afterward.
Just taking a player to the side.
Yeah, exactly. And it can really help. I've often found it helps sort of get round conflict, because just when stuff becomes sort of really dire, I can sort of introduce something that really changes it to his strengths, that will play on his strengths, and he can really help the party out, and the party really mesh well together. And they've all found their place in the party. They've hit their stride. The campaign's gone terribly wrong for them, but as a group, they're enjoying it. And that's awesome.
Yeah, incredible. Well, thank you, Josh, for your own insights, my friend. We're going to head over to Sydney to have a chat with her about, this will be on the exam. Don't worry, Strider, we've got a musical happening in like 5 minutes' time. Let's head over to Sydney. How you doing, Sydney?
I'm doing good. We're writing Les Mis parody songs in a Google document.
I'm very glad to hear that. Cannot wait to get to that. Sid, talk to us about conflicts. We've been talking to Josh and Torscore here about a couple of their own experiences. Share with us, if you would, some of your own.
All right, so this is an iconic video on YouTube. You can look it up. It's called Dungeons and Dragons. The party gets pregnant in this video. Basically, one of my party members had like tricked me into going into this room in this like haunted mansion thing that would get me pregnant with a demon baby. And yeah, right. Well, I was so mad. We've been playing this game for like a year. I was very emotionally attached to this character, and like when I went into the room, the DM didn't like make me roll insight. He wasn't like, "Oh, you feel like maybe there's a demon in your stomach." Like there was like no indication of that. It just like kind of hit me out of nowhere.
Right.
And I did not appreciate that. I feel like there should have been something that I could have done to circumvent that.
Right. You felt like there wasn't any choice.
Yeah, and like no indication that would happen at all. So I felt really kind of out of the loop, like they had sort of planned something that was totally game altering without me, specifically to my character.
Right.
So yeah, I was like, in the moment it's pretty funny, but afterwards we actually did talk about it, and I was like, hey guys, like I know like we made a big joke about it, but like yeah, I didn't really like it when you like plan something that big that's going to affect only me, like specifically. And don't talk to me about it. Like you can talk to me and I won't like be meta about it. Just, don't hit me with that because I don't think that's fair. And then they were like, you know what? You're right. It's not really fair. We shouldn't have done that and we're sorry. And then we were fine.
There you go. You were still good friends even after the whole demon baby accident.
Even after being impregnated with a demon baby.
Well, if that ain't friendship, then I don't know.
I don't know what is.
I don't know what is. Well, yeah.
I'll drink to that.
There you go. Well, yeah, that brings us some interesting points about where you want to go in terms of the lines as well. Can you just impregnate someone? I mean, that's something that you should probably talk about before the game as well.
Yeah,
because that was clearly something that you felt uncomfortable with as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, all right, cool. Thank you, Sid. Let's head over to last but not least, the wonderful Louise has her own story to tell us. Hello, Louise. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. I'm excited to share my knowledge.
Tell us a tale.
Are you sitting comfortably, children?
Yes, sit back, relax.
Let's begin. With me, my story is because I DM as well as play, and this is a story coming from when I was DMing a campaign back home, and it was a campaign that I ran with a lot of friends of mine I'd had from the area and from the time, and we all got on really, really well. And it was great for the first few months, everything was fine. But then two of the players, the honeymoon phase, and then it all went wrong because two of the players had a huge, massive falling out in real life. And it was like they still both really wanted to play, but they would not be in the same room as each other. And it would be like, they'd be like, oh, I'll come this day if she's not there. Like, oh, well, I'll come this day if he's not there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Is he going? Then, oh, I'm not going to come. It was an absolute nightmare to plan. And then there was one day that they did come together, not like together, but they were there at the same time.
Right.
And that's when I was like, listen, okay, we need to resolve this because this is not okay.
Yeah, it becomes unhealthy.
Exactly, yeah. So before the game even started, I took them aside and we were talking about it. And I basically told them, like, it's not fair to the other players for them to have to kind of deal with this when all they want to do is enjoy a game. It's not fair to me who's been planning it, and it's really not fair to them either, who both want to really enjoy a game with their friends, but aren't letting them do so because of some outside drama that they're bringing onto the table.
That's a good point.
So we talked a lot about that. We talked about the issues that they had outside of the game and tried to resolve them there. And we came to the conclusion that the best thing that we could do is to just play the game as we would have done anyway that day. And then the next time, because we played on a bi-weekly basis, so the next time that we'd all get together to play, I wanted them to come into the table as if they'd never met before, and to treat each other like how you treat a stranger that you want to be friends with, and try to put everything from their real life behind them and try to make a new start. And we tried that because we really wanted to be like, the table is a separate place from reality. And you can have all these problems in reality, but try not to bring them to the table. And so we did that, and it really worked. And they managed to get along for that session. And then they started talking and they started laughing, they're having jokes. And then before we knew it, they were friends again. Yeah. And I was just like, this could have been handled like in my way, I should have handled it much sooner because it took like a few weeks for that to come about. But yeah, so I'd say with mine and with a lot of problems that you do get with these kind of things is it's always going to be solved best by communication.
Yes.
And a big problem that can happen is miscommunication. So really taking the time to talk everything out and make sure everybody's on the same page before you move forwards is a really good way to keep that rapport and keep enjoying the game as it's meant to be enjoyed.
Yeah, I think that's you make a good point there, and especially on that point of it being unfair on the other players most of all, and using those guys like, listen, guys, you're not necessarily ruining this, but you're making this experience worse for these other guys who are kind of caught in the middle. I sense that they felt like, guys, just please get along.
Just come on, guys.
Yeah, it's like an ugly divorce, and it's like the kids that are getting hurt. So yeah, that's a very interesting story, Louise. Setting aside that's the separation between table and real life players in order to come to some success. And on your point of not catching it soon enough, in every conflict that I've run into as a DM as well, I felt like if only I had done something sooner, it would have been easier. So I feel like it's a common feeling that we haven't caught things straight away because it's difficult to. But yeah, the earlier you catch these things, the quicker it is to get solved, along with many other things. But thank you, Louise, for your wonderful words of wisdom. We're going to head back to Grung the Musical now for our
are we ready to go?
next minute. Well, I am. I know I'm so
I'm
ready.
scared.
Are you guys in chat ready for Grung the Musical? I really hope so. Let's go back over here with our players. Hey guys, we're back. We're ready for our next segment of play, Grung the Musical. Now, each of you have been given a very specific task to bring down the priestess Nang Nang, or at least a performance of her, in order for King Grok to mate with her and create fantastic, wonderful god babies of the Grung Nation. Now, there's a performance to be put on. You have to trick King Grok into believing that this actually has happened, and we're going to cut to the night. Tonight, my friends, is the night to do it. So, I want you to give me a brief rundown of what is going to happen in tonight's performance.
Okay. I wrote a scene list for us. So scene number 1, we have a Google document that we can share it with you guys maybe. Scene number 1, Tadpole comes out, sings a song. We wrote a song. We're gonna make.
Are you singing this, Josh, or are we gonna have Desira?
Apparently.
Why me? Why?
Because you're the singer.
So we need a karaoke version of Stars from Les Mis.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to keep working on the song. You read out those.
I'll sing it.
I'm making notes. All right, let's sit speak
Yes.
for a second.
Then scene number 2, a zombie comes out. Ooh. And the tadpole
Edgy.
kills him, thus earning the blessing of Nang Nang. And then Fulton comes out as the king and calls to Nang Nang, and Nang Nang comes down, and she's like, "Oh yeah, he earned it." And then the moon comes up, and then they bless him, and the tadpole falls into the. In our prop is going to be a backpack, but it's actually a blessing pool, and it's going to turn gold with our spells, and then he's going to emerge, and we're going to have an epic, sparkly finale, and then we'll have curtain call where I'll come out and bow and all that. So cast list, Josh.
And light refreshments.
Yeah.
A brief intermission. Bartleby is the tadpole because he's so tiny. Fulton is the king.
Right, but disguised and with tadpole floaty float up above.
Yes. Desira and Reverie are going to be some zombies and also working backstage for the special effects.
All right.
And then we have the potions to create the goddess.
All right. Incredible.
I'm ready.
Well, this all seems very well planned, and
I know.
So it's going to go all to crap.
No, in fact, for your great preparation, I'm going to give each of you advantage on in one performance check that you would like to make during this next session here. So let's cut to it. You've got the backstage area. You're by the 60-foot shrine of Goddess Nang Nang. King Grok and the audience are around the shoals around the pool, and they are watching with fascination as the backstage area is being prepared as presumably there's a stage area on the steps of the thing itself, and Krook has readied everything that you guys need, props, potions, no matter what it is you guys needed. Krook has seen to it. She's incredibly nervous at this point, but she is going to be the one that introduces the whole act to the assembly. Now, is there any last preparations that you guys want to do before the performance begins?
I order a latte.
All right.
You cannot drink that before you sing.
Dazira is hastily writing this song.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Fulton goes ahead and gets in his Thorlbog disguise self, so we can place Bart on my antlers in his sleeping bag.
Incredible.
Looking like a tadpole.
Quick
and
question.
ready to sing. Oop.
What is the name of the language that they speak?
They speak Grung.
Just grunk, sick, cool.
Yep.
This song, like me and Louise, co-wrote this, and this
beautiful.
song is incredible.
All right. Well, as you look nervously out from behind the curtains, you spot that there is a large crowd of Grung gathered, and King Groke's amongst it. You guys were expecting like something of a turnout, but the whole Grung nation is here, ready and waiting for your performance.
Opening night.
Yeah,
Opening night.
opening night nerves. All of this work that you guys have come towards as a production team, you feel very close to one another, very emotional as you're about to perform. And you see Krook step out to a great fanfare. And she steps out in her tribal garb and says, "Greetings, everybody, to the Grung musical." And she says that in common, and then once again in Grung, we're like, and then she says, "Ready to perform? We have Fulton Stump, Reverie, Dazira, and Bert Bix. They've got it wrong on the leaflet.
The teleprompter is wrong.
Is wrong. And she says, "And now they will perform Grung, the musical." And she steps away as everybody cheers. A huge, crowd cheer goes up from the Grung nation. Begin.
Okay.
So Fulton places Bartleby up in his antlers, and so he looks like he's floating as a little tadpole. And he is looking like he is the king who is strolling through the Grung nation. And we see the baby tadpole comes out and looks to the moon. Oh, go ahead.
Looks up to the moon. The music begins. There, out in the darkness, a tadpole swimming, fallen from Nang Nang, fallen from grace. Nang Nang, be my witness. I never shall swim till we come face to face. Till we come face to face. She knows her way in the sky. Mine is the way of the pool. Those who follow the path of Nang Nang shall have their rewards. And if they woe, as in the undead fell, the pain in the flesh. Nang Nang, in your multitude, loved by the Grung, filling our darkness with order and light. You are my sentinel, silent and sure, keeping watch in the pool.
You got this. You got this.
Keeping watch in the pool. You know Dung Lung Run. You hold your course when you bless. And each in your ritual returns and returns. And is always the same. And if you fall as the undead fall, you fall in flame.
Good.
And so it must be. So it is in Grunion, on the doorway to Nang Nang's pool.
Josh,
You got it. You're almost there.
More life.
This is the big finale.
It's your big break.
Prestidigitation. There's sparks flying. The wind is going through everyone.
You got this, Josh. Come on. Finish it off.
First two.
Come on, Josh.
Come on, Josh.
That those who are blessed and those who call are blessed by lords. Lord, let me find her so I may see her. Down in our pools. I never will rest.
Till this, then I swear. This I swear by the moon.
And Fulton casts a spiritual weapon as a giant moon-shaped shield fills the sky, and sacred flames drop as stars from the sky.
And then Every and Dazira come out, and they're like zombies.
And Dazira casts minor illusion to have more zombies around, and it's an invasion of zombies.
They're growing like
However will this poor tadpole live?
boo from the crowd as they see the zombies.
But then the tadpole's magical song. You see?
Yes, the sacred flames start to fall upon the zombies, and they are struck down by the radiant light of the stars that have been called by the tadpole of Nang Nang.
Incredible. The growing are like,
And all of the zombies suddenly fall, and they're all on fire, and all of a sudden...
And Dazira rolls backstage and takes the vial.
Yeah, we're like shaking it out.
Uh-huh.
We're like starting to draw.
Yeah.
And the tadpole looks up to the sky and beseeches Nang Nang, and you then see from up on high, like a shining star through the night, we see this glorious, beautiful, sexy frog grung start to descend, and the tadpole, the spiritual tadpole who vanquished the night, vanquished the undead, he does a quick little dive into my backpack so it looks like he disappears, and the king, who has been strolling through the nation, looks up at Nang Nang, and he starts to glow a bright golden glow that shines out across all of them as I just start casting light on everything. So it just becomes this giant, huge, in the night beacon of light on. I mean, I'm throwing light on everything that I can see.
Casting like prestidigitation, there's sparks flying, and like people have a warm feeling inside. I don't really know why.
If this thing has worked
up.
and Nang Nang is there, Dazira will use her minor illusion to start making tadpoles just swimming out of everything.
Oh yeah, and the sparks, they've all become tadpoles that swim out and land in the pools, because we're up by the temple where the nice clear pools are.
Yes,
so then you see them all,
Yeah.
as they hit the water, they become tadpoles and start swimming.
Swim around.
And I love the idea that Bert's like magic missiles form the Disney castle.
But it's the statue instead.
Oh yeah, it's the statue, because we got the giant statue of it.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
So it's
absolutely.
like fireworks behind the castle, but it's behind Nang Nang.
And there's like an epic ending, and you hear the themes that played in the overture start to come back and arise.
Oh wow.
And it's we put a lot of work into this. And then it slows, and then it begins to fade to black, because I can't concentrate that long on my prestidigitation.
I was gonna say I've only got a minute on the moon.
The moon starts to fall, and the lights fade, and it fades to black. And then,
Wait a second.
Oh,
Wait. We call up the king. We bring the king up.
Yes.
We bring the king up,
Improving.
and so during this whole thing, she comes down and seems to like spread her golden arms and
Yes.
croaks
He
It's
says,
the
in a
sexiest
blessing
croak you've ever
upon
heard.
King,
our king.
King Grok says,
Why, yes, I will. Oh, thank you very much.
seemingly having answered a question, and he bathes himself in the pool, and he begins to float around in the pool and swim around there.
Golden tadpoles all around him.
I'll
Zero will
cast-
just start the slow clap. Just
I'll do prestidigitation again to warm up the pool to make him feel like something's happening, like kind of tingly.
Ooh, pool tingles.
Yes. And then like, we can do the curtain call, and everyone can come out and bow. And I love this. This is
I like that you start the slow clap. Absolutely.
Yeah, you start the slow clap, and as the curtain falls and it fades to black, the crowd cheer triumphantly, and they're going wild, just like they're doing their little dance. They're doing their war dances, like tribal drums start going up.
It's the end of Star Wars. All the Ewoks are dancing.
It's exactly the end of the Phantom Menace. Yeah. Holy moly, yeah. And everyone just starts dancing, and King Grok is just like bathing in this pool. And Priestess Krook comes up to you guys after your performance in the backstage, and she's like, "You did it! Oh, you did it!" And outside, outside, everyone is just still going wild, still going crazy, and the Grong are dancing outside. It seems like you have successfully somehow pulled this off. And you see the Grong are throwing like fungi at you. It's basically the equivalent of like flowers. And she says, "Take the curtain, take the curtain." And so presumably the group of you go forth and take your bows. And
Thank you.
The Grong become ecstatic tonight, and they go absolutely crazy. And it's maybe an hour later, as outside in Dung Grung Glung, everyone is celebrating and watching and praying and hoping for the new Grung tadpole babies that will be born perfect and new. And King Grok is still swimming in that pool. That Krook finds you, and she says,
That was amazing. I didn't think you would actually summon Goddess Nang Nang.
She buys it. I love it.
She buys it.
But it's just like, Bert's a convert. Like he's
just going to stay in that tadpole
There was a moment.
forever.
There was a moment that you guys weren't part of where Bert he lost himself in it.
He lost himself in the music.
Yeah. The power of the words.
Lose yourself to dance. He's just out to I love it. But Krook is incredibly thankful to you. Well, she gives you the marvelous pigments, and they are yours. And she says,
Perhaps it's best that you meet King Grok in the morning.
Yes, he probably would be quite tired after.
Yes.
all of these
He's a little busy. He's getting busy.
Don't say that.
I am going to bed.
Actually, can I do a thing, Will?
he is getting
Just
jiggy.
to try to really solidify this whole
Please.
moment for them. Can I, the like river or stream that was kind of like the cesspool, basically of the village?
Yes.
Can I ritually through the night? Ritually through the night, can I use purify food and drink to basically make that whole little moat or whatever turn clear by morning? It would probably take me quite a while because it only does like 5 cubic feet per 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But if I sat there and worked at it through the night, could I make it so that when they rung awake, that their sort of cesspool now run clear, as though it's been some kind of a divine thing that's happened?
Absolutely. So you guys will, you'll purify this lake throughout the night. You hear the Grung nightclubs open up. As yes, I love that from New Mutants. First watch me whip, then watch me nang nang. As the grung are all out dancing tonight as they're like, oh yeah, oh, we're getting jiggy with it. And it's the next morning. But in fact, do you guys party with the grung? I'd love to know.
Absolutely. I feel like
yeah.
we're celebrities now, and
Yeah.
we're probably like gonna get like special treatment, get all the like the free
We get like the
stuff.
VIP section. We're in like the bottle section.
Yeah, and we're like, I want to like sign autographs, and so I'm like, oh,
Absolutely, yeah. The plenty of people want their tadpoles blessed by you. So that's a very important part of them of the night for you guys. Is your dancing.
It's like a christening.
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah. So the next morning, as the night has worn itself into morning, as rosy-fingered dawn appears above Dung Grung Lung. Many of the Grung themselves are somewhat inebriated, despite their nature to resist toxins. Some of them have taken it a little bit far today. Some of them have got like the old Grung froggy headache. They got some frog in the back of their throat.
So are you saying that some of the grung are hung? And Dung Lung?
Ooh.
Just saying.
Oh dear. Well, that's neither.
How many
here nor
times am I allowed
Over.
to quit in one day?
there. At least one more.
Okay, I'm going.
So you guys will find yourselves in the morning, having crashed somewhere in one of the grung huts and the hovels, and a grung will make you some breakfast of basically like
Caviar.
caviar. Yeah, actually that's like super offensive to the grung. Like only berries, leaves, fish as well. Some of the locally caught catfish from their now clean pond, and there are plenty of them going around the pond, just staring in awe at how clean it is. And King Groke's palace, the shrine, is open to you all. What would you guys like to do?
Head towards it.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I hop towards it in my sleeping bag. It's my life now.
Have we not untied you from your sleeping bag? Or you're a convert now?
I went to a grung rave last night, like this, just all night long.
Because that's like how the people recognize you.
Yeah.
Like, when it's normal, they would know who you were.
Yeah, I love that. Hadn't found a grung's party to grunge. Absolutely, they're a big fan of Kurt Cobain. You heard a lot of Smells Like Grung Spirit last night.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so
I don't want to know what that smells like.
Spirit.
I'm a spirit.
Smells like grung. Yeah, so you arrive at King Groke's palace. He is the most relaxed you've seen him. In his pool, he's glowing a little bit actually. He's got a little glow to him. He looks very pleased with himself, and he taps his little circlet and it glows. And he says,
Oh, well, I have to thank you all for summoning Goddess Nang Nang down towards me. We shared a very busy night.
You dog, you.
But with that,
You frog, you.
Can I use my one final quit?
yeah,
You totally can.
we were doing so well. King Groke, he says,
So, I believe there was something that you wanted from me. How can I possibly repay you?
well, yeah, how could you possibly repay us, honestly? But we'll throw out some placeholders for now, and then maybe we can come back later and discuss something more in depth. But Fulton?
Oh, right. I'm trying to remember what we needed. Yes,
summoned.
you've survived far longer than any other species here amongst these undead and these treacherous, some of the treacherous flora and fauna of this land. Any assistance you could give us as we try to journey to the temple where there seems to be a force emanating that is interfering with both life and death. Any guidance you could give or help for us to make the trip safely through these undead infested areas and areas that have so many poisonous and volatile plants that could harm us. And we see that the grung have many ways to combat all of these trials.
go ahead, Bert.
but also sort of like sort of hops over to it and says, "There is something else that we'd like. Well, two other things. One is the metal men that you have spoken to. The ones that have come to your territory.
Yes, kill them.
They don't want to fight. They protect their spawn, and you protect yours. Will you consider an alliance? For you cannot fight two battles, two enemies, and the undead are the true enemy here."
He takes his two little like froggy fingers and kind of like strokes his beard. Yeah, and he's like,
Well, if you say that they don't mean any harm, then I suppose, and they don't. We will trade with them again.
The last thing, there is something we are looking for. You have a great spiritual connection to Nyang Nyang.
he nods.
I
He,
just-
he nods knowingly.
Yes, I do.
It's not just spiritual.
He gives you a wink.
Yeah, he looks.
Spiritual.
He looks down in the pool.
connection. He knows her well.
Oh,
biblically.
yeah. He says, there is something we seek, something of great evil in this land. It is known only as the Soul Monger.
He nods and says,
It is what I've been keeping the undead coming towards us. It is in the south, across the Deadlands, where the undead walk ever stronger. They try to assault our Fawn maze, but they will never do so. Now that the spirit of Nang Nang has guided me, our babies will be stronger than ever to defeat them. But I do know that to the south there is a floating tower. There is an elven wizard. She stays there and, well, I think she battles the undead. I have seen great storms in that area where the dead do not trouble her. So, she would be someone who you could speak to.
Wizards would be helpful. More wizards.
he nods. Yeah, he nods as if you said something very wise. And he says,
Excellent advice. You know, if you wanted to stay on as an advisor to the king, you'd be welcome to.
We'll have to see what people think of me. See how the tadpoles come back for my popularity. Quite.
I'm afraid the position has been taken.
and
Always happens.
right, you're
Looks defeated.
never any luck with the advisor positions.
No.
So King Grok will give you directions to this elven, apparently wizard, who's a couple of days down to the south. But he does warn you that it's a pretty dangerous area to go to.
Do you know of any antitoxins or specific paths that we should take or avoid along the way?
He nods and says,
My scouts will give you a safe-ish path through there, but it involves a lot of tree climbing.
Oh, I'm not quite sure if that's the safest way for us.
he says,
It'll avoid the hordes of undead. Do not question me. I am King Rook.
Oh, okay. I wasn't trying to offend you. I'm just saying that we don't have your talents of hopping from tree to tree as you do. We're not quite as skilled as you and your blessed babies.
You will learn that the canopy floor is not safe. Maybe slower going, but you will not run into dinosaurs or undead.
The king is right. The higher the ground, the safer we will be.
All right then.
There is sense in this.
all right. So unless there's anything else you want from King Grok?
a
Do
recording
they have
of
any
our great
antitoxins
play?
or anything like that? Just because any anti-venoms or things like that?
Yeah, he'll give you an extra dose of anti-venoms each, because you already have one, which you bought previously, so you now have two.
Does he have like a playbill of our performance that I'd like to take home
Yeah.
for memories?
Yeah,
A
he's
DVD I can send to my mom.
he's got a couple of like show notes for after the first night from Krook, who, you know, it's a couple of points that could be improved for the second night if you guys are ever to return.
Oh yeah.
So you know, it's like it's cool to be kind.
Yeah, I think that the wonderful thing about this is it's no longer about sort of saving the people. We actually have something to get back to now. We have the second night. We have a massive fan base.
They're ready.
We gotta nail this quest. Back to our true performance.
Well, you've got the dino races as well. Now you've got the second performance to get back to.
I'm like,
We're really just all entertainers at this point.
I'm like an actor.
We're all going bard for our next level.
Next level. Reasonable.
I'm up for that.
Other than that, King Groke will thank you once again for your servitude to him and for summoning Goddess Nang Nang and bid you farewell after handing you the maps and the toxins and agreeing to make good with the Order of the Gauntlet.
Great.
So,
do we need? Can we pick up more rations here?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh no, we've got we're at 7, right? I'm sorry.
But we can still take some more.
Yep.
Well, how many was it from Vengeance to here?
I believe it's 2 days off the top of my head. I have to check my notes.
Yeah, 2 days. So we were down to 5. So we're at 5.
So you're at 5.
And then,
we need food.
They'll pop you back up to 7. They don't have a lot of food, which is good for you, or stuff like keeps particularly well. So they give you what they have.
Cool.
All right. So, you guys are in Dunk Grung Lung. You have the way before you. Where would you like to proceed to, or what would you like to do? I guess anything else you'd like to do before you leave. I suppose.
I mean, I assume that we can say that we've taken a long rest after our partying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to sort of take a quick moment in the center of town where our statue's being erected. And sort of take a moment to check that over, and then we can head off.
Make sure it doesn't make you looking bad.
It's like made out of mud. It's like
good.
Mud. Yeah. A little erection just outside of the shrine itself.
He goes over,
if you will.
He goes over and he's going to put his hand print on as like a signature thing.
Yeah. Oh, like the Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And I put my hand down because now I have on Grung Boulevard. Grung Boulevard. Yeah.
Wow, impressive.
We should probably be on our way. Maybe
we should probably be on our way.
Yeah, you should wash your hands now.
Yes.
Zira's probably already walking.
Don't eat with that hand before washing it.
All right, so Desira, as you guys head out of Dungrung Lung, there are crowds of people who are bidding you farewell, crying that you guys are leaving, wishing that you will come back one day. Desira, roll me a survival check. As you head out on your first day of the expedition.
That's a 17.
From Dungrung Lung to this floating tower, which is supposedly out in the skies. On a 17, you follow the path which the Grunk have laid out for you with great ease. The trees here that you're jumping to and fro from, you kind of picked up the technique, the group of you at this point. You kind of gotten a hang of it. Some of the trees aren't fit for bearing the weight of like a furbolg, for instance, so you need to go extra careful when you jump across and make a couple of quick leaps. So it's the case where probably Fulton goes last so that he doesn't destroy the next tree that you guys will come to. You will notice that the canopy below is indeed very thick with undead. These like gorilla zombies are kind of everywhere, and the humanoid zombies are as well. It's not uncommon in this area to come across more of the undead Allosaurus. And so on that survival check for Desira, as you guys travel through the night, you'll have to avoid patrols of those as they sort of, seem to be hunting their territory, sniffing you guys out. But you manage to escape them for the most part. On the second day, and you can track off one less rations. as you're headed through the treetops, so you're down to 6. Desira, roll me one more survival check, my friend.
That's
What?
It's a natural 20. No, it's a 2.
Worth a try, alright? Worth a try. Unfortunately for the Zero on the second day, the going gets particularly difficult upon the treetops themselves. And in fact, it gets to a point where you guys are no longer going to be able to proceed via treetop. You are going to have to go down to the canopy below. However, you do believe that according to the map, the floating tower itself should be only a few miles to the south. So it's not too far that you have to go across this territory. But we'll find you guys, we'll go back into the scene as you guys are, just getting down from the trees as there's nowhere else to go in this pretty infested territory.
We step carefully from here. Be careful and be quiet.
Yes, I think stealth is probably our best bet. Without even asking, I sort of pick up Bert and put him in my backpack.
He knows. Sid, you're muted. There you go.
Not bad.
Right.
Not bad. All I said was Reverie gives you a nod of approval.
Yeah.
Alright then. So, Desira. In fact, the whole group, roll me a stealth check as you headed through here.
So,
Can I
It's a
forfeit?
9.
You'll get
Chat did
advantage on this one, Bartleby.
Oh,
Okay.
yep. So chat did remind us that I can do guidance on myself. So
Yep.
I do guidance on myself since I'm protecting myself and Bart.
Okay.
And my dex ain't great. So let's see how I do.
wait, why don't mine roll twice? That's a
10
9
and then
total.
plus a d4. I think we're screwed regardless. But hey,
Wait.
I got a 20. No, I didn't. I got a 14.
Okay.
I got a
However-
20.
However, Will,
Yes.
I got a 19. Now I'm in his backpack now. I have grappling hooks and rope. Can I puppet Fulton to be better at stealth because I rolled a 19? Is that a thing I can do?
Wait. Sell us to me again. No. But better.
Basically, Fulton got a 14,
Yes.
which isn't great, but I got a 19, and I'm in his backpack, and I've got rope and grappling hooks and stuff. Can I attach grappling hooks to his legs to make him stealthier as we go along? And
Attach grappling hooks to his legs
Do we have advantage?
to make him
What,
stealthy.
What a quote
what
that is.
if you just kind of hang out of his backpack and you pick
Okay,
up
guys, we're screwed. Just
Okay.
To attach
So-
grappling hooks to
okay.
his legs.
So
I feel
yeah,
like
player
you can't-
conflict. Know when to just shut your players down and tell
Alright,
them to
yeah.
shut up.
Here's where we go back to it, guys. So, you attempt to create a complex series of levers and pulleys, which
you saw what I was doing.
will be able to puppet Fulton. However, you are a gnome, he is a furbolg, and it ain't happening, and no way would that even make him stealthier. Attaching grappling hooks to a person does not make them quieter or harder to see, so no. So Fulton, you rolled a 14, is that correct?
Yeah, we didn't have advantage or anything,
No
did we?
advantage, unfortunately.
Nope, 14 with my guidance on myself.
Reverie,
20.
20. Zero.
I got a 9.
Alright, 9. And Bartleby.
He's in my backpack.
Bartleby,
You rolled a
he rolled
You know,
19.
19.
I got
Yeah.
a 19.
Bartleby gets advantage on a check sitting in the backpack. Alright, so, with the physics of that lifting even more, it bends, it challenges the very laws of science, doesn't it, really? Who knows?
Fulton's just like, what are you doing? Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
He's completely tied him in rope by the time.
You just,
This is not
feel
helping.
things
And so I'm tripping through the brush and everything because I'm caught in grappling hooks.
Yeah.
Basically, it was.
I had a nat 20, but then Baxter, Bartleby happened.
That's it. So,
Stealthy. Yeah.
alright, so
Stealthy
as you
puppet.
guys are sneaking through this complex series of levers and pulleys, doesn't really seem to help you out at all. But fortunately for the group of you, the average is actually pretty good. And these zombies do not have a high perception or passive perception. So you stalk your way through the jungle until you come out into a clearing. You're actually out of the jungle itself. And for a couple of miles around, you see that there are no trees in the area. It's just a marshy, boggy land, which leads up about a mile towards this floating tower that you can see before you. Now, it doesn't necessarily look like your average like floating wizard's tower. It looks to be a tree, a floating tree more accurately. And you will spot a massive chunk of earth and rock torn from the earth drifts over this swampy forest about 100 feet above the ground. A petrified tree towers above the stone, with its stone roots protruding from the bottom. Between the shape of the rock and the branching of the tree's limbs, it creates the impression of a gigantic stone heart hanging in the sky. The impression is only made more gruesome by the red liquid dripping from the roots. You see a cave mouth inside of the slowly rotating quote-unquote heart, and a staircase winding from the cave up to the flattened top where the petrified tree stands. The staircase definitely isn't natural. It was carved with tools into the rock. And that's what you guys see before you. But we're about a mile out through this boggy land right now. This probably feels quite at home for Fulton.
Yeah, no, actually, yeah. And also seeing the fact that it's a tree tower and not like a man-made structure, he's feeling a little more confident. But yeah, no, bog is, swamp and bog is kind of like his bread and butter. So can I roll a survival check to help all of us navigate through this?
Absolutely, yeah. You don't want to fall into the swamps itself. That's where you could get like throat leeches, all sorts of things could happen in there.
Nat 20.
Yes!
Baby. Oh, them critties are out. So yeah, you help navigate the group through this swampy terrain until you're basically standing underneath this heart, which is floating 100 feet up in the sky. It's dripping this red liquid down, which you can only assume to be blood, from its roots itself, as though it was torn from the very earth itself. However, there's no sign that the heart once existed in this area of land. It looks like it was torn from somewhere else and moved here. There's no obvious way up to it. There's no staircase which leads up to it as such. On the heart itself, there's a staircase that leads to the top of it. But from here to 100 feet up, you're not sure how to get there.
Ooh.
So via a complex series of levers and pulleys.
Yeah, well,
I was going to say, we've got grappling hooks, we know that, but 100 feet's still a long way.
It's a distance.
How far do you reckon you could throw me directly up into the air?
You're going to have to toss me.
Because I have a grappling foot and 50 feet of rope. So if you can get me 50 feet up.
Well, so then we've still got 50 feet between the bottom of the rope and the ground.
Well, I guess we all have rope though, don't we? We could tie more to it.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's true.
I love we come up with this complicated thing. We're gonna get there, and there's just gonna be a lever or something.
We'll walk around the side, and there'll be like a ladder that we can climb up.
Well, yeah, actually, that probably makes sense. Should we let's do an investigation
Let's check
maybe?
first. Let's have a look around.
I mean, there's got to be a way, right?
Roll me perception check, seeing as you are further away from it. You don't actually get a chance to rummage through anything.
Yeah.
21.
18.
21's pretty good.
Only a 9 for me.
9. So yeah, here's what the zero will spot on that 21. Anyone else? You're 18. Yeah. So Reverie and Zero will spot this. There is a woman up top who you can just about make out, 100 feet away. Who seems to be, blonde hair. She's wearing like looks like a cloak. I guess a black cloak. And she's walking up there. You don't see any mechanism, but she may well be the elven wizard that has been talked about.
Should we try to communicate with her?
I suppose it cannot hurt.
But can you talk wizard to
Very
us?
loud.
Hey!
She's fast.
Hello? Hello?
All right. She looks down, looks around at the sound of the shouting, and peers over the side, gives a look of consternation, and says, "Who on earth is there?"
Good morrow. My name is Bartleby Baxter Burt, and these are my companions. You may have known us from the musical Groan, and also the up-and-coming dino races with some of the competitors. Really, we're just looking to to parley with an individual such as yourself regarding the local epidemic of bad bad sort of cinema critics or theatre critics, and also undead.
We need to talk to you.
She calls down and says, "How can you say so much and yet so little?" And she like flicks her hair, and you see a shimmering blue portal appear 10 feet in front of you. "You might as well come up," she shouts.
All right, that went better than I expected.
Yes, no need for the weird pulley system.
Yes.
Zero was
There's
like literally like got it in his hand, like
schematics,
Yeah,
there's
like,
Would you
blueprints.
stop that? You stop it.
You are not an artificer, damn it.
Getting like tangled up in Fulton's like.
yeah.
In my
Antlers,
antlers,
yeah.
yes. Yeah. I like have got it all. It's all tangled in the antlers. It's a mess.
Oh, yeah.
He's having a bad antler day.
So yeah,
So,
presumably
I'll go through the portal.
head through the portal. Yeah, you appear in the at the top of the part itself. You find yourself in a cave, essentially, somewhere within the rock. The cave is musty and dimly lit by daylight, filtering down through the hollow, petrified tree trunk 20 feet above. A pool of dirty rainwater occupies the central 20 feet of the floor, between natural pillars formed by the roots of the petrified tree. 3 tall bookcases stand against the wall to the right of the cave entrance. A desk and several wooden crates stand against the left-hand wall. Opposite the entrance are 2 open doorways into smaller chambers, and between them a large iron cage. This is where the blonde elf is. She's wearing what seems to be kind of standard sort of like wizard black robes at the moment to keep her warm. It looks like it's probably quite cold up here if you were to step outside, pretty windy due to the height that you guys are at. And she has on these bookcases several books, and it looks like her kind of magical works as well. She herself is a pretty elf who is long hair falling down to about her shoulders, and appears to have a bit of a look of consternation on her face as she sees Bert appear. And she says, "So, I'm sorry, I couldn't really hear. You said so very much. Who is it that you are, and what do you want? Something about a musical? Grung?"
Sorry, do apologise. Maybe this a language barrier, and he switches to Elven because he actually speaks Elven.
Elven.
And he's just I do apologise. We are simply travellers in the area. We've just come from Grung Lung Dung, and before that, Camp Vengeance. We are gathering an allegiance of individuals to drive back the undead hordes, the menace, the scourge of this land. We were told by the Grung that you were a wizard of mighty power who had managed to drive the undead from the lands surrounding your tower, and that you had used magic and storms to do so.
She nods and says, "Yes, I have been investigating this soulmonger whilst I've been here, and, well, found myself a refuge away from the hordes of undead below. Here they can't reach me, and they don't bother me. My investigations have led me to look into the ancient civilization of Omu. It is where the undead seem to be pouring forth from, and that is where I believe we will find the soulmonger. Now, if you're willing to help me, then I'm willing to help you as well in this endeavor. I need eyes on the ground, you see. Much of my research is done here. And if you were to venture forth and, find out some of these details of the great city for me, then I would be greatly in your debt. And of course, I will be able to furnish you with information on how to deal with the many strange machinations and traps that will no doubt be within the great city itself."
That sounds perfect then.
Would I recall anything about Umu? Was it Umu that you said?
You can roll me a history check.
Is it Uma?
Uma?
OMU.
That's a
OMU.
12.
OMU.
I have such good history. How do I have such bad rolls?
Yeah, you're like, you've heard of something which is like really far to the south, which maybe is that, but yeah, you don't think so.
Damn it.
She introduces herself as Valindra is my name. A pleasure to meet you. And yourselves.
Well, I'm Reverie Fane.
You know,
Pleased to meet you as well. I'm Bart's bodyguard.
yeah,
True.
she looks at Bert. I see.
I am Bartle Baxter. Bert. Someone else go before me.
I am Fulton Stump. It is a great pleasure to meet you. It is an interesting facility you have here.
Valindra nods and says, "Thank you. Yes, I find it best to work away from too much of the harsh lights out there and the strange creatures which might fly about. You must have ran into the terror folk while out, of course. Strange winged beasts, and well, it's much safer in here, you see, where I can study in peace."
Indeed. And my name is Daz. I'm Desmunda. Desmond. My name is Desmond.
She looks at you with a kind of raised eyebrow. "I see, Desmond. Very well. Now, tell me what you know."
We have witnessed firsthand that there has been quite some trouble with people who have been brought back from beyond death, which is a considerable amount. Many a brave and noble adventurer who've grown to a ripe old age, and in doing so have grown to positions of power. And unfortunately, that often means that, well, people in power, people in governance, are now rotting away. And it's all to do with this soulmonger. In our land, it is known as the Death Curse. We wondered, what has it been like here?
She nods and says, "It's been very much the same. In fact, the curse has been growing stronger and stronger. Even the undead whom we slaughter seem to be getting back up off their feet a second time."
We have witnessed this.
She nods and says, "Yes, well, I believe it all originates from this ancient city. This soulmonger grows stronger by the day, and well, we need to stop it as soon as possible."
If you have reason to believe that is where we should go, perhaps that is where we should go. It is our only lead that we have.
Indeed. Desmond. Yes, that's right. That's right, Desmond. Tutu. She says, "Well, perhaps you should stay a while and take a rest. It looks like you've been going through that bog for some time."
Has it been? Has it been a long time?
How
All the days.
we're just looking at
It
the
was just
sun. How
another-
long have we
The days
Yeah,
It was
stopped
another day,
moving
right?
around.
Yeah, it's another day. So you've been 2 days. Getting towards the end of the second day.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
Can Fulton do an insight check on her?
Can't
All this talk of
Sarah as
shadows
well.
and
The way she talks.
the fact that it's this giant
Mhm.
bleeding heart. I want to insight check her, or can I do an insight? Ugh, with an 11?
Yeah, you've known wizards to be, lock themselves up in their studies and have weird, creepy magic towers.
16?
You also, Desira, get a sense that she's maybe not giving you all the information that she has.
Mm-hmm.
As you do.
Pretty much the same deal.
Yeah.
I get it just a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
like, you feel it, and I'm like, no, I really feel it. Like,
Feel real strong in here.
yeah.
There you have it.
All right, so as I'll leave you guys to that one for a minute. I want to get in our last tomb insight of the night, and we talk about conflict resolution. Oh yes, my favorite topic. So we'll get back to listening in 5 minutes' time. We're going to go to our secret DM cave and have a secret chat, just you and I, my friends chat. So We'll see you guys again in a second. Enjoy, players. Good luck. Alright, so we got them mutarinoed there. So we're going to talk about our last topic of the night, conflict resolution. Let's sort this out. Let's all be friends, guys. So we've talked a little bit about today. We talked about avoiding the conflicts, first of all, in our first 2 insights. Then we went to the player perspective. We heard from the players about some of their own experiences, some of their own conflicts that they've had, some of their own resolutions that they found from them. Now I'm going to give you guys a couple of tips that I picked up along the way when you do need to come to conflict resolution itself. Hopefully some of the bits that the players have said have been useful as well, and I'll touch on a couple of bits that they've talked about as well. So let's dive into it. First of all, approaching people in the right way for feedback is incredibly important. When you realise that there's a conflict at the table, and you realise that you're going to have to step in at some point and do something, chat with the players, have a one-on-one conversation with them, or sitting down as a group and let's all hash this out like a family intervention. There's a couple of ways that you can bring up points to people in such a way that they might take advice well. And there's ways of approaching people with feedback that do not work very well as well. Yes, welcome to the Secret DM Cave Group. So the first way to do that for me is if you approach someone in a way and you tell them that what they're doing is wrong or what they're doing is bad. For instance, Terry, you're bad at role-playing. Like, we don't like how bad you are at role-playing. You don't role-play, Terry. Terry's going to be like, his immediate reaction, Terry, and I know him well, as a human, is going to feel like he's done something wrong and potentially lash out, get defensive about it, and not necessarily going to work with you to improve or anything. And if you guys know Terry as well as I do, that's definitely going to be his first reaction. Terry is bad. Terry is bad, I reckon. So if we approach Terry in that way, he's not gonna come back to us with anything like, "Oh, how can I improve that? Oh, thanks for giving me that feedback." No, that's not what Terry's gonna say. Instead, if we approach Terry, I have no idea who Terry is. It doesn't matter. Terry is a figment of our collective imagination right now. If we approach Terry in a way in which we think he'll be able to give us some good feedback and be able to work with us, that's how we want to approach this. My way of doing this is to approach the player, or in this example, Terry, with sentence structures such as, when you do this, it makes me feel this. When you do this, it makes the group feel like this. For instance, Terry, when you don't roleplay, it makes the rest of the group feel like, you're not into the game, and it makes it less enjoyable for them, and they feel like they're not getting as much out of it as they could do if you were really into the role-playing stuff as well. And I'd like to be able to work on that with you. I'd like to come at you with some ideas of how we can work on this together. That is done in a more constructive way, in which Terry can take that feedback and be like, okay, he's going to try and help me to improve. And most likely Terry wants to help improve his own game, right? And wants to make the rest of the group feel like they're having a good time and having a good experience as well. Another thing as well is when you approach them and you're like, this is how it makes me feel, he can't really tell you that that's wrong. He can't say, well, they're just dumb, you idiot. I mean, Terry is Terry, he may do this, but, that may be his immediate reaction, but hopefully you can come at your players with such an angle which is more constructive rather than negative. When you come at someone with negative energy, they're going to give you more negative energy back. If you come at them with positive, constructive feedback, they're going to be able to have at least the opportunity to come back at you in a mature and reasonable manner. Taking people aside one-on-one and chatting to them about this is always a good way of doing it, so you don't necessarily have to embarrass someone at the table. You don't want to call someone out and be like, wow, you're bad, whilst everyone else is there. You want to have a 5-minute chat like Josh was saying after the session and just say, how can we resolve this together? How can we work on this together? Because, I feel like there's some improvement that we can be doing here, and I think that you'll have more fun when this improvement is made, and I feel like the group as a whole we'll be having more fun as well. Communication is super important. We've been talking about this all throughout the Learn by Play series, but I'm going to continue to bang on about it again today because I really can't drive home the point enough, especially when it comes to talking to people, then it is incredibly important to actually talk to them. Don't let it devolve as well. Don't let it get to the point where it's a whole group of people talking about another person. When there's talking behind the DM's back, when it's talking behind the player's back, that becomes very unhealthy, very negative, very swiftly. And so I'd encourage you guys to just kind of chat about it in the open. If you feel like there's a conversation that needs to be had, if you need to clear the air, then by all means, clear the air. A last point would be, is if you're in what I would lovingly refer to as an abusive D&D relationship. For instance, you're stuck with a DM that won't take any advice from you and the way you play, or you're stuck with a group of players that really just don't get along with you for whatever reason, and you're not having a good time, or you feel like you're not as good friends with them perhaps as the rest of the group. You feel a little isolated. We've all been in situations like that, and it's perfectly reasonable to find yourself in them. If there's nothing to be done, if you've tried all the possible conflict resolution scenarios, you've approached your DM, you've approached the play, you've talked about it, and there's nothing that's happening, and you find that you're not having a good time, then quit that abusive D&D relationship, because you know what? There are a million other people out there online, in person, who would love to play D&D with you and who'll treat you well. So never feel like you're stuck in a game. I've run into a lot of people and they say, I'm not really happy in this game. It's not exactly the group I'm looking for. I turn up, but I'm not really having a good time. I've heard loads of people telling me they get so anxious when they go to their D&D games because they know that they're not going to have a good time. And that's crazy to me, because I think, well, this is a game that we come to have a good time, to escape the real life, and to escape all that kind of crazy pettiness that's like high school drama, right? If you find yourself in that spot, and there's nothing else to do, then you can feel free to leave. There is lots of other people to play with, and if you're not having a good time and you're not enjoying yourself, then make sure you go out there and enjoy yourself, and look after number one most of all. Get yourself out of that abusive D&D relationship. I bet you will, Kaki. Obviously, Will got bumped by a Terry and is now taking revenge. Yeah, this is ultimately my whole this whole series, 12-episode series, is my crusade against goddamn Terry, who just completely screwed me over there. Let's see. I'm going to go to a couple of questions that were tweeted at me this week and in the Twitch chat. Saying if you guys have any questions, fire them in chat real quick so I can get to them. S. Whitfield tweeted at me at EncounterRP, and he said, I really want to get into Roll20 and start playing online. I'd also like to play in a stream game. Any advice on how to get involved? Best way to find a Roll20 game online is to go to Roll20 and go to looking for game forums. I did a bunch of videos on YouTube on that about how to do it. You can find them on youtube.com/encounterroleplay. Best place to do that. Advice on how to get involved in a streaming game. Well, I run a stream game which viewers can join in every Thursday, which you could join in, or connect with streamers. Shoot messages to other streamers, and I have plenty of them that are all around. Find them with the D&D hashtag, and you'll find them all about in a D&D category. EV Modeus asks, if you're not great doing voices, is there a point where you should stop, or just go all in with a crappy voice asking for a friend? We're actually doing an episode on this later down in the series about voice acting and voices and the like. But my advice, in a nutshell, would be to go with it. Go to a crappy voice, invest in it. The more invested you are, the more believable it becomes, and it doesn't really matter if it's bad. I love a bad accent, first of all, especially if someone is putting their conviction into it. It becomes believable for me. Billy Sage asks, is it possible to only run a game with 2 people and a DM? Yes, absolutely. Some great sessions I've had have been one-on-one with players, or 2 players and a DM. Requires a little bit more work to focus on those players, but yeah, it's good fun. JDC says there's a DM that I know that refuses to stray away from a handbook, even if the other players are unanimous in their decision to make a change. Yeah, make sure that, you got to be open to feedback, right? You got to be open to, as I was talking about earlier, set those expectations about what the game's going to be. There's a bit of pull and push, I guess, with DMing. Like if a group really wants to play just by the book, then you can make accommodations for people who enjoy the rules more, and so on and so forth. Paphos Gaming is good for a DM straight from the handbook in multiple ways, especially by training. Yeah, we're saying the same stuff here. Draken's making some points about becoming the peacekeeper and council of the group. Make sure that the other adults in the group are also being adults. It's not just your role as a dungeon master to deal with everyone else's problems. So if you find yourself being in a position that you don't feel comfortable as a dungeon master, then fucking ask the rest of the players to help in, pitch in as well, because it's not just your job. JDC, I recommend going back on the VOD and watching it, because I am short on time, but we're going to head back to the rest of the players, and we're going to head back to our final section of Learn by Play tonight. So, you guys are talking to Valindra. You just rolled a couple of insight checks. You get the feeling that she's not exactly telling you the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So, she says she's just told you guys basically that Omu is the city she's looking into and that you should stay for dinner.
Yeah.
Everyone
So
happy?
just so I'm clear, we're like in the big rock that's underneath the tower, correct?
Yeah. Well, there is no tower itself. I mean, the tower.
Well, the
seems to be
tree.
Yeah, it's a tree. That's
But there's a
correct.
tree above us that there's a staircase that leads up to it
Correct.
that's carved out.
Yeah. She says, "Won't you stay a while?"
Yes. But yes, well, very much so. Would be good to rest and recatch our breath. I'm also, Valindra, I've heard that you're a wizard. That's what the Grung said.
She nods. Yes, I am. A powerful wizard.
Fantastic. I am also a wizard. I was wondering, is there anything you could tell me, any spells you might be able to teach me or that I might be able to teach you to sort of help with our journey? If we're going to be helping you sort of scout out the area for information on this city.
She says, perhaps I could teach you a cantrip or two. It'll take some time, though, longer than one night.
Oh, I would be willing to spend a little time if it's okay with everyone else.
No,
We do not have time to spare.
But but you know that the what we're looking for, the artifact, is growing stronger every single day.
This is true.
Yes,
This is
the longer
very true.
you wait, the more powerful it becomes.
That would be bad.
Very bad. Pray tell, what is the nature of the research you have carried out? Why are you so sure this is the city we seek?
She says, she looks a little bit, I don't know, like miffed that maybe you're like questioning her like research, but she says, I have done years of research all across this land. I think I know a soulmonger when I see one.
I am not saying you don't. You need to communicate with us what you know so we know what is happening, what we are going into.
Very well, Desmond.
I do apologize. You say you would know a soulmonger when you see one. Have you seen one before?
I have...
was-
Listen, artifacts of great necromantic power have a signature, which I can see when I scry. It is eminently powerful and clear that it emanates from that very region. So yes, I know a great artifact of power when I see one.
Do you know of any tips you could give me? Not a full-on spell, I understand we don't have time for that, but something that you could tell me. I'm rather in tune with the arcane nature of the world, but something I could try to sense, some a taste, an inflection, something that I could, when I drew close to it, if I didn't know what it looked like, I would at least be able to sense that we're drawn close.
She says if you have any form of detecting creatures, that would be the best way to do it. I could teach you the spell, but there is no magical out from actual spell casting. And she kind of like, stiffens her back as though the idea of not casting spells is ridiculous. So she's-
when we find this, then how are we supposed to destroy it, I guess, or get rid of it, or make it stop sucking the life out of
you
everything?
will communicate to me via these sending stones, and she hands you one of these stones, and she says, when you find it, you can call upon me, and I will teleport to the area to capture and destroy the soulmonger.
That would be, I think, having someone of considerable power, and he sort of gestures to the fact we're on a floating tower that was like ripped out of the ground and has made storms and stuff. It would probably be best left to someone who understands and has seen one of these before. You sound like this is something that you've dedicated your life to. It would be good to have someone who'd done the research on hand to rid us of this foul thing.
She nods and says, I gather that you have rather been thrown into this. I myself have been working for years on this, so it'll be useful for you to have someone on hand who knows what they're doing.
Indeed.
How long have you been here?
Oh, here in the heart. Oh, a few months at most. No,
And in Jolt in general?
She says several years. I studied out of Port Nyanzaru for some time. Roll me a insight check.
I would love to.
All of us?
We'll just let the
That's
zero make one for now.
7.
Yeah.
Are you sure you don't want all of them to roll?
Yeah, well, we're running low on time, but yeah, she says so. Why don't we talk for a little bit? And in fact, everybody roll me a quick perception check. More importantly,
Cute.
22.
Nat 20.
sorry,
18.
18. All right.
7.
You hear a muffled from somewhere from the petrified tower upstairs. You hear a muffled.
Actually, I was going to suggest this to Bert.
She like
Can I glean anything extra from it from my natural 20?
sounds like a person saying "help me."
Thank you.
Bert, do you still have your raven that you could send your familiar up?
Yes, I can.
No, you left it with
no,
the
no,
people.
No. I can summon it back to me for free. It's once I've basically.
Because now the Grung are going to help those people.
I told them that was like 8 days ago. I told them they had it for a couple of days, and then I'd be calling it back. So yeah, I can.
Call it back.
Yeah, that is about 6 days ago. You're right.
Yeah, I pulled.
Girl.
But I
Okay.
until someone actually informs me, I rolled a 7. I know nothing.
Yep.
I hear nothing. Yes.
Bert, you should
Yes.
send your bird upstairs. Scout the rest of the building, just to be sure.
You said this in front of her.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do.
All right. She raises an eyebrow.
You know,
You can never be too careful.
undead. They and the Terra people, Terra folk. Terra.
You have to understand, we are adventurers. Scouting is what we do.
I see.
It's nothing personal, it's just habit.
Send the bird up then.
Bert looks genuinely apologetic at this. Woman is just like, I'm very sorry about this. And in Elven just sort of says like, some people are just so rude.
You guys,
All right.
Yeah,
so,
like-
referee and I can hear you still.
all right. So you send
Reginald.
you send Reginald up.
He has a name, Will.
Yep. You send Reginald up. And through his eyes, you see that upstairs there is what would appear to be what could only be described as a torture chamber, and there is a man who is muffled and gagged up there and tied to the wall, and what you think might be some kind of lizard folk dinosaur man, both trapped up there. On the man's hand you see a ring which is frozen cold, and it sense great power upon it. And there are several zombies upstairs who are attending to them as well, trying to kind of shut them up and keep them quiet at this point. And as you see through this, the rest of you downstairs will see Valindra cast a hand across her face, and from where her beautiful elven visage is, you see that of undead flesh. Yes, I am a very powerful wizard. I'm a lich.
Son of a gun.
And that is where we're going to wrap up tonight's session of Learn by Play. Oh,
Wonderful.
goody. We're getting to it next week, boys. Get into it next week.
That's not going to be good at all.
No, it's not.
I'm not as loud.
Yeah, a couple level, 5 level 4s against the
Can we,
lich.
no, can we level up after our musical?
Like level 20 maybe?
Yeah, go out,
Level
going.
20 real quick. I'd say yeah, you guys will level up from 4 to 5 thanks to your fantastic performance of Grung, the musical, and getting through here to the Valindra Shadow Mantle's lair.
Uncanny dodge.
Next week is going to be a big one. I'm really looking forward to it. If you guys have any questions, if you enjoyed tonight's show, please do let us know in chat. We'd love to hear from you guys. And of course, you can find us, Encounter Roleplay, with the Encounter Roleplay crew. You can find us here on Twitch. We stream pretty much every day, Dungeons and Dragons. If you like this session here, we do plenty of other series. You can hit us up with a follow there in Twitch chat, twitch.tv/Encounter Roleplay. We'd love to see from you guys. We'd love to hear from you and join us in the rest of our sessions. It's like 5 nights a week of D&D streams, 2 sessions a week of podcasts that you can find on iTunes at Turncloaks and WonderQuest. And yeah, you can hang out with us every damn day on Encounter Roleplay. So we'd love to see you guys. Let's go around real quick the cast and crew. I can confirm there's no Heroes Graveyard tonight, by the way. Trump is at TwitchCon. That's been confirmed to me for a Wizard staff. So no Heroes Graveyard tonight, but there's plenty of TwitchCon streaming going on. Let's go around. Tall Squall, yourself.
You can, it's been great fun. You can find me at Tall Squall pretty much all across social media, and let me know you saw me here and come join me on some of my other shows. Thanks.
Awesome. Sydney.
Hi, that was great. You can find me everywhere, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, at Sydneyak. I'm on Encounter Roleplay, sometimes on certain days. And then I'm the Dungeon Master for WonderQuest, which you can follow at WonderQuestPod on Twitter. And I'm on Turncloaks Podcast, which you can also follow on Twitter at TurncloaksPod.
Josh.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you can find me in all Turncloaks as well. You can find me on Encounter Roleplay doing Encounter Roleplay stuff, which is all fantastic. And yeah, looking forward to dying instantly next week.
Instant death, yes. Yes, indeed. Last but not least, Louise.
Yo, you can find me at Accidental Legend here on Twitch, no more, no less on Twitter, the WonderQuest podcast. And you cannot find me next week because I'm not here for our next game. It's my birthday and I'm going away, and I'm very sad about my own birthday because I'd like to be here.
Oh no!
But no, it'll be a good time. So
yeah,
I'll be back again later on. So yes, yay me!
Huzzah! Indeed, fantastic. Yes, next week we'll be joined by Jonathan Pruitt from WebDM. He runs a very famous Dungeons and Dragons YouTube channel, which I highly recommend that you check out. He'll be joining us next week to guest in for Louise. We're very excited to have him, and we're going to kill him, probably. If you enjoyed the show, you can follow these guys on the Twitter handles, and of course, you can hit myself up on Twitter at EncounterRP, or you can follow me on Twitch here. I'm around all the time to answer your questions if you want. Have any D&D question whatsoever, that is my job here on Twitch, to help you guys out with series like Learn by Play, a ton of other D&D and Call of Cthulhu series as well. But thank you to Wizards of the Coast for letting us back on, and we'll be back same time next week of 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time for more Learn by Play. Until then, however, try not to roll too many nat ones because we'll be here laughing when you do. Good night, everybody! Farewell, bye!